Why don't we just start, why don't we start with this? So Woody wants to talk a little bit about the feedback. I don't know if you guys got the email from Chad Alishire today. You may not have seen it because you've been out of the office.
I haven't.
He sent an email, as they said they would, after the reporting webinar, that for each grantee to say what specifically in our last report they want us to strengthen in the next report.
Yeah.
And his main point was that they wanted us to provide more information about our engagement with employers. They would want a little paragraph for each one if we follow the Louisiana example.
Right. And normally that's what we would do. If we're going in Salesforce, we would put it in as opportunity, and then we would put a little bit of synopsis
Okay.
of who they are, what we talked about, what kind of occupation they may have. Just a little bit, a few just basic points that you might need if you were just glancing at it from another person's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so we have not.
You did, but we didn't include it in the report. We just listed the names and.
Yeah, let me show you on the.
What's that?
I thought I did the paragraphs to the businesses about what they wanted.
Right here,
Yeah.
Okay, it should be
one more page.
on the other
yeah.
page, yeah.
Let me go print off a copy of that, and then we can see if it
Here you go, you can
fits.
make a copy of this one if you want.
Yeah, they actually,
Is there a copy of out here, should be showing on the.
And that's not our report.
right.
They're sending it to us, want to know about, like, they want to know from y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we want to do is make sure we're all on the same page on this. What do we need to do to help you make that report work for you?
Right, exactly.
Because if it works for you, it'll work for us.
Right, so we listed, I think, somewhere the 15 or so colleges, employers that went
Right.
to the employer forum. But we didn't, what they wanted was a paragraph about each of them and their interest in RA. So.
And let me just say this, they want a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't always get what they want.
Okay.
Because you may not have that information, and if you don't, just say, I'm sorry, I don't have that information to provide you right now. And sometimes they need it to see, I guess, what you're doing.
Right, exactly, it's fine, I think we can generate that. And did you see that example in the slides that were
That's
sent
right, I
around?
did,
Yeah,
I did.
so that's essentially what they want, a little bit more information about, this employer came, they're interested, not interested,
Right.
have they gotten to the point where they're even talking about occupations or whatever, just a little bit more detail. Okay,
So the Baxter industry, that Baxter Labs, we've had in the past a apprenticeship program with them. And I wasn't around when we had that, but I know there's a record of it, a past record of it in Rapids.
mm-hmm,
And Eaton, they bought out the tool and die company that was here, can't remember the name of it, and we did have a apprenticeship program with them. So Eaton
Mhm.
bought that company out, and they were out on Beasley Road. Can't remember the name, but I used to go out there a lot, and they made aircraft parts.
okay.
Okay, and so, and they do have, in South Carolina, they have
Mm-hmm.
an apprenticeship program. We looked at it for you. Okay, and General Electric, we got a program in Alabama.
Okay.
Okay, at Holmac, we've talked to them, and they want a program now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're ready to rock and roll. Hunter Engineering, I've had an apprenticeship program with them in IT Generals.
Okay.
Tannic Leather, they want a program now. And I don't know what systems and PGT.
I couldn't find anything on
Precision
that.
Spine. Roseburg has had a program just recently with us.
Really, okay.
Yeah, and they didn't follow through. It's part of the thing where I was telling you in our meeting that we have to continually work with them to keep them. And that's all the way up at Oxford, actually at Abbeville. And so we weren't able to get up there enough to really help them keep their program functioning right.
Okay.
Okay, so over time, they changed managers, they changed personnel, they lost the idea that the information that we provided them initially was lost because they changed personnel. We're not able to go up there and fill that back in.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, everything you get, you're gonna lose it until you get it well established. So you have to go back and maintain that relationship and continue to deal with them. And that's where the big problem with Mississippi. We're in Jackson, that's 200 miles away, 175 miles away. You're not gonna just get up and drop everything that you got for two apprentices at Roseburg.
Well, and so the beauty of MAP, get everything up and running, is that we're gonna engage the colleges as sponsors. And so the staff that the colleges hire and or designate, some of which are probably gonna be people who already have familiarity with local business and industry and may be a part of their business engagement efforts. That's who we're gonna train. That's who's gonna be working through the sub-grant that we're gonna provide. So the training and contacts with you all will flow down through us, through D, to the colleges, out to the companies, and they'll be able to provide that more, be more accessible.
All right, now, did I hear you say you were gonna subcontract?
We're gonna do sub-grants with the colleges.
Is that contracts or grants?
They're gonna be grants,
Okay,
right,
that's different, there's a difference.
right.
So, is Northwest on board with this?
Well, that's the thing, so we have a draft RFP that we're working on, and we're gonna send it out to the colleges. We wanted to try to get it out this week. It may end up being early next week, but we're gonna get it out and give them like a 3-week window in which to apply. It's not gonna be, not super intensive, but basically we're gonna let the colleges tell us if they're interested in doing this program based on their current familiarity with companies in their districts who've expressed some interest in RA programs. As much as they know right now. Because another part of the MAP initiative is that we start promoting and spending dollars on marketing and promotional efforts to kind of increase, get more word out about RA programs.
Marketing, and how do you define marketing?
Well, I think in order to reach the business community, we need to probably, take out an ad and/or articles in places like Mississippi Business Journal, have a presence at the Mississippi Economic Council. Josh has mentioned working with the Governor's Job Fair, getting information out to the WIN centers, and just doing some social media posts.
So, let me ask you this question. Now that you said that, would you consider that as active or passive?
That would, I guess,
It's both.
it could be both. But if we do something like Constant Contact, that could be very active. We give a database list of all the companies, whoever would provide that information, and we can constantly give them.
The terminology in marketing we use is called missionary sales, and that's your outreach effort. And it's okay, and you want to do some of that, but the thing you have to have in place when you do that is you're going to run across maybe one or two. There's going to be what we call low-hanging fruit. Thank you. And you're going to you want to have a mechanism in place at the time and on site that you can go and enroll them right then. Without that, all your efforts will fail. Okay?
Right.
So you're going to go out and you're going to get a certain amount of interest, and usually off of that you'll get one or two good prospects. Out of the prospects, you might get one program. Now you have to be ready to enroll that right then. You can't go out and do all this advertising and not be ready. Okay, that's a first rule. So if you're going to do this, you have to do it in the right order. Doing all this marketing and outreach, if you're not ready to put the program in place and write the standards, and have somebody out there working with them, developing their occupation, then you're not going to be able to write them. You're going to get them, see them, and they're going to bypass you.
Well, see, when we engage the colleges will be ready to do that. But
Right.
we still have a responsibility up front to advertise about RA in the state in general. Just raising the consciousness of registered apprenticeship as a viable workforce development tool.
So I'm just pointing. This is in marketing.
Yes.
What I did in my degree. This is one of the areas that we see the weakness in. So if you're not ready to sign somebody up, if you don't have the pieces and parts in place, sign somebody up, and you're doing this, then you're not efficiently using your money.
Right.
Right.
So I think what we wanna do, Woody, is actually, this conversation is gonna help us be sure that we're ready. Cause we're already doing some one-on-one industry visits. We've been doing these group educational events, the employer forum, the business focus group. We'll keep doing these kinds of things as we can figure out how to get folks to learn more about RA. And then the marketing piece that Kenneth is talking about is an addition to that. But as long as we have this capacity ready to move, if they say I'm interested, and we have some questions related to that we wanna
It's like
circle
HOMAC.
back. Yeah,
All right, what you would get me, Dee, and Mike to go with you to HOMAC. Rebecca Brown, I don't know if you know Rebecca Brown, she ran the Southern Mississippi Planning Development District's WIOA. She and I met with HOMAC. Charles Holder, the owner, was not ready to sign, but the people under him, one of them in the machinist shop, they're ready. And I talked to him again at your last meeting, he said he was ready. So what we probably should do is go out and meet with him and take a set of standards with him. We've already left a set of standards with him, and we talked to him at length and depth about the program. He's aware of it, knows it, and he wants it, and we need to go ahead and sign him.
okay.
We need to go, when we got a low-hanging fruit, you go ahead and take it. You don't wait. And whoever gets that, it doesn't matter. But that's what our job is right now, is to go get what's available. If there's one of those up there, Roseburg, that's far away. And so you probably would wanna put that on the second tier, maybe the third tier. They might express interest, but you're not ready to be there. But we can drive out to Bay Springs, 70 miles away or so, and we can come back in a day, and you can make a couple of trips like that, and you can go ahead and be working with them on their program, and that's how you learn it.
Yeah,
You go ahead and get your one set up, and then you'll be your
test case.
and you start working with Mike, working with myself. We'll go with you. We'll talk to them about it, and it's a learning experience. And by the time you get that one kind of up and going, you should have others ready to come on. So you have to have a plan. I'm saying this is the plan. We have to move with the plan.
Right, and we do have some companies that Dee and Josh have been meeting with, and they'll give you an update on that in a minute. But let's just close the loop on this reporting conversation right here, and then we can get to some of that. Thank you, Josh.
But this is what this is about. Our assessment of that report is we need to move. Okay, that's those companies we already knew that we could do something with that are close by. That's where when we look at that report, that's what we see. We can move on one of those. We know HOMAC.
Yeah.
It may not be successful, but we can do something there, and that's where we start running.
Yeah, and I think they're not the only one. I think there's some other interests that G and Josh have found. Okay, but let's talk just for a minute to close the loop on this conversation about what we want to put in the report.
Okay.
So, because I think, so Josh has given you a copy of, it says MAP Activities Quarterly Report. Some information that he provided based on his conversations with some of the
It's
companies.
well written too, by the way.
Thank you. We condensed it. Now we'll make it longer as requested. So we condensed it and didn't include all the detail, but if you look like on the second
I'm
page,
saying that. Yeah.
you know, Josh has some detail about, like for instance, November 22nd, he had a conversation with Grammar. They want to learn more, you know, and they, you know, he talked with Milwaukee Tools. So this kind of detail, I think, is what they want in the QPR, right?
So I also tried to put in there if we made it a visit, like if we had a face-to-face or an actual phone call. Is
Right.
that important or not?
Well, yeah, it has a priority, you know, in marketing. So if you're making an initial contact and it's phone, it depends on if they called you or you called them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'd have to go back into marketing and drop back and punt a little bit here, and I don't know if we need to do that right here. You want to get through your report. So on the marketing part, ask me that question in a few minutes when we're doing some training.
No, I meant on the reporting part though with the
Yeah, yeah.
I think in our-
You want to
So
show,
that way it
yeah.
shows like, this was our initial
Right.
outreach phone, and then next step would be a visit potentially, so
Right.
you would have a visit marked down on your report.
I think we might want to come back to that, because in the reporting guidelines, they talk about what's the difference between regular outreach and substantive business outreach. So, if you're calling to set up a meeting, probably we wouldn't include it. If you're calling and you're having a substantive conversation, so we need to figure out some, definitions for
Yeah.
ourselves. Certainly, like the business focus group, I think would be substantive, the employer forum would be substantive, your one-on-one industry visits would be substantive. I'm not sure how to think about the phone calls.
Well, in WIOA, for instance, it's like a phone call is informing them, like Rammer didn't even know that we had, like these companies, you're making the phone call, you're engaging them, you're telling them of an activity coming up, like, a lot of these we're telling them about our employer apprenticeship luncheon. So then the way WIOA works, when they're documenting, that shows as a check, like you engage that business, you're now leading them to an event to where they can learn more, you get credit for that.
For
And then
them, they do.
Yeah, and then you go on to the next, so then you show like a next meeting, and then you have to link it. Is that
So,
not?
and that's the way
I
we
don't
do
know.
in Salesforce. You can set up a little app on your iPad, and you can go and do that, and you can keep up with it that way, and just little jot little notes in there.
Okay.
But back to your report. Okay, so what do we need to discuss?
So I think that's all we needed. I mean, I think we can come back as a team, on Friday to talking more specifically about the text. But we understand that we will need to enhance it for the next round,
Well, it's
the text.
I wouldn't work yourself to death on it.
Okay.
Okay, 'cause they might read it, they might not. I will read it, you'll read it, but I don't know, I don't think they have, out of all the states, they don't have the staff to read a lot of this, so don't burden yourself too much. We just let them know that you made contacts, that's who it is, that's what you said. That's two lines maybe,
Okay.
two,
Maybe we
three
produce
lines.
a table, Jordan.
Mhm.
Let's just look at doing a table,
Okay.
and you can have, like, Josh may already have a spreadsheet, but like name of the company, dates of contact, just a little checkbox,
Mhm.
email,
Yeah.
visit, phone call, or
Little note.
literature,
Yep.
yeah. And then last field could be notes, and we can jot, 4 or 5 lines max, I would think. But just a quick visual, which will take care of what you're saying right now.
Right,
that they're
and
not gonna read
have
all
it
that.
accessible by all your team members,
Yeah.
and so they get the same information, so that we will, I'm sure what they're gonna do with this information is look in our Salesforce and see what companies that are already on board that you have that we can piggyback off of. And they may send you back something on that.
We might, Josh, we might wanna talk to IVE, we might can get something in-house, like a web-based tool, just a simple little database where you guys can, log in and drop all that stuff in there. And like what Woody's saying now about, once we get them on the hook, go on and get them signed up, because in looking at the regs, and Michael, y'all tell me if this right, the regs said that you gotta have, during the time that you register the program and you sign up the first apprentice, there's like a year window in there, right?
It's 90 days.
Or it says,
From when they contact you, or you make contact with them and they say they want a program.
No, when they sign up a program, when they get an apprentice.
right, it says every.
Yeah, when they
Yeah.
have 1 year to get an apprentice in, or they have to cancel the program.
Right, so the early work that Josh and Dee are already doing, as you're saying now, Woody, that can count. We just need to go on and create the process for getting them signed up. We would have a year window
To get an
the
apprentice.
standards together and get before the first apprentice is
Hold on, we
signed
don't wanna
up.
wait that long.
The standards have to be written and in place. You have a year to enroll somebody after it's in Rapids.
Okay, but a
So-
year, how long on the
So
standard?
you have
The
a
standards
year.
is 90
Okay.
days. What the regs say, and we don't hold fast to this, but when you first make contact with them and you agree that they're gonna get an apprenticeship program, then generally the regs say that we have 90 days to get that complete.
So is
And
that,
in place in Rapids.
so would an example of that be like, for instance, when we were down at Ingalls signed that agreement with you?
I got
Now-
90 days.
Now you have 90 days. That's
Yeah.
not like, I just engaged a business, they're learning about apprenticeship. It's when they
90
signed
days
the
started,
agreement.
when he told us he wanted to get the installation program started.
And they
We
signed
worked,
it.
and then we worked the agreement up, and then when we signed it, that was within the 90-day period.
Yeah.
Now
not-
it's
not
a year
after.
from that
Now, a year
signature to
from
get
that
an apprentice
is
in
when
that
you
first.
have
First
to have an
apprentice has to be
apprentice.
enrolled, okay.
Right, and so that, if you look at the regs, it'll state that somewhere, you'll read it.
Right, that's what I'm looking at,
We're
29.6.
not gonna sit there and look at it and say, I don't care. You know, if you get the program, it's 120 days old, we're rolling, dude. You know, we don't care, I don't care.
Mhm.
We want you to be successful, and we're gonna make that happen for you. And so the easiest thing to do, and Mike's gonna tell you a little bit about some processes that are now going on in South Alabama. Mike, you wanna just kind of tell them a little bit about what we were talking about with these ladies?
I'm working with the Alabama Apprenticeship Team. I'm sure
Okay.
you guys have probably heard of them.
Yeah, they're new, aren't they? They
Yeah,
just started
Yeah.
3 months
And they're not funded.
Yeah, we've been going around about 90 days or so, probably a little over. And one of the things that we're doing right now, because it's a lot of activity, just right now they have about 6 opportunities. They've been going out visiting, and we're looking at probably signing one of those opportunities next week.
That's great.
So
How long did it take them from the day they first talked to
the
you to sign
same
one?
training, we've been kind of loosely discussing it, but the same everything I'm gonna give you today, if we have time, is what they're gonna get Thursday next week. And one of the things that they've been doing for me right now is they've gotten real good at promotion. They're out there beating the trees and getting a lot of interest, and they have an opportunity that you guys have too. And what that is, and I think y'all ready to get out in the field, especially after today. Federal government is very threatening to companies. Well, you guys are less threatening. All right, they don't see you like they see us. Even though you're gonna say, hey, look, you're gonna be registering with the Office of Apprenticeship. They have you, they know you, you're in the community, you know? And that's the same thing with them. And it's only it's a team of 4. And in my region, I only have a team of 2, Alabama Apprenticeship, East and the West. And they get together in the last 3 weeks. We've gotten 6 opportunities, and I'm looking to sign one here pretty quick.
How long was that process? 3 weeks?
Yeah, about 3-4 weeks.
So, in order to put a set of standards in place, you know, it doesn't take that long. These ladies were able to learn what they needed to learn. It didn't take a lot of promotion. They did promotion. They looked through their prospects, and they got the best ones, and they put those forward. And they're coming to him. He's training them on the standards, how to put those in place.
Mm-hmm.
He's assisting them, and they're ready to sign one right now. And that's in a 3-week period, and they've got 6 of them. And their situation is a little bit different than ours, because their state they have more economically going on right now than we do.
Are they functioning as a RA sponsor, or is this
No.
group the employer,
They are,
intermediary?
yeah, let's think of them as more of an intermediary.
Okay, so then y'all
They have no
train them,
access.
they have not signed an employer themselves.
No, what we do is when we sign this first, let's back up. The Alabama tax credit, the first thing they have to have is to be eligible for it, you have to be a registered apprenticeship program within the DOL.
Okay.
So when they're going, yes, they're speaking on Alabama tax credits. However, they're promoting registered apprenticeship. So what they're doing is giving us access. But the activity, Ken, is getting to be so active, I can't keep up with them.
Okay.
Today is the only day nobody's called me about they got a potential opportunity for us to talk with. I drove, last week to Dothan. That's 200 miles there and back. So I drove, and it took me all day. But we went and visited the company there. So hopefully that company will get them signed up here. We have follow-up meetings with them, and we'll get them signed up. So when they sign this first one, my signature will be on there and the state directors. But what we're trying to say, you guys are going to be a little bit more different. You guys are going to be more of you're going to have an actual sponsorship. You're going to have your own agreement, and you will do sponsor.
You're going to register your people under a sponsor agreement. And every employee, we can't give you we initially told you and they rescinded it.
Yeah.
We can't give you the right to be under us as an ATR. They don't wanna open that up to everybody.
Okay,
And so Garfield, I called him this morning, he has rescinded that, and it's been rescinded from the national office. And, so we're gonna have to work as a sponsor agreement with, employer acceptance agreements under that. We can either sign one up with the college board and let you do that for all of the colleges, or each college can sign their own sponsor agreement. And they can sign people and have their own, password and ID and be able to sign people up under them. And, that would be via employer acceptance agreement. So the employer is agreeing to follow the set of standards that you have here,
right,
okay? And they're responsible for doing that. The colleges will go out and monitor to make sure that that is occurring. And plus assist them with the OJT outline and the development of classroom planning. And that's a continual process.
sure,
Okay, and then they would just simply take the password and ID and password, open up RAPS 2.0, and they would enter the apprentice in, the potential apprentice, put them in, register them. And that would just go into a big pot for that sponsor agreement. The only way we'd be able to identify who they are is maybe an outside secondary program that's linked up to the individual employers that would tell us who these employees, the apprentices belong to. Okay?
okay,
And so it really is not what I wanted to do, you know.
okay,
But that's where we're at. And Mississippi Construction Education Foundation is set up like this, and they have programs all over the state, and they enroll multitudes of employers under one sponsor agreement.
yeah,
And they have to use a secondary program to keep up with them and identify them. And they keep their records, OJT, classroom training, and wage records in that secondary program. And that's how they monitor how they're doing.
So the other group out of Alabama, I'm just curious, that doesn't go through the sponsorship, they're just going directly through you.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like that's, and then you all then monitor them, or they're monitoring the
Monitoring.
business? Cause like you were
They
saying,
have
you have
a-
to
they
have
have
the
a-
sponsor then has to
yeah.
go out and monitor.
They have a responsibility, they have an audit they'll have to do every year. We will still do the compliance review and monitor it. It'll be my program.
So
Or-
you'll be responsible to
Mhm.
make sure that those are monitored, where
Yeah.
our colleges will now be responsible
Yeah.
for making sure that the registered apprentices.
If
So
they're-
we do,
if they're
we do
the
a quality
sponsors.
assessment on
Yeah.
the program, the college itself.
sure,
The colleges will do what's below them, and
The
that's something that Mississippi Construction Education does on a regular basis.
right. So let's back up. So, okay, ATRs are off the table, so we'll need to register everything through the two of you guys. And we had been originally thinking that, you know, we would get some number of community colleges, at least we're shooting for 5, to be RA sponsors. I think we
Right.
still wanna try to pursue that, as opposed to the board becoming the sponsor, which I think adds a level of
Bureaucracy.
bureaucracy, but also staff capacity
Right, they
issues
don't
that
have
we're gonna need to,
Yeah.
we would have to talk through. I think the
Right.
only way we might consider that is if none of the colleges really wanted to do that part. Then we might wanna step back and think about whether or not the board.
Well, I
would do-
just might recommend that you keep this as a secondary option open,
Yeah,
because you may, some of your colleges may not do well, and may withdraw.
yeah,
What happens to their sponsors? So you need to put them somewhere.
yeah,
So you probably need to have a backup, that would be you.
mhm,
And as far as staff goes, I don't know how your grant's written, but, you know, if you don't have enough internal staff, that's where I put some of my staff.
right,
Because those are guys who are gonna be like you, that be hitting the road and signing up those companies. Where the community colleges may wanna do it and have all the best intention, they might get diverted to doing something else.
right,
It happens, and we do. And
That-
so you
That
have to
would be a
have,
part of their grant requirement though.
right,
So when we do the grant, when they respond to the RFP and give us a proposal, you know, the program guidance that we're putting in there is saying that whoever you hire, if you choose to use the money and hire full-time, or if you're gonna designate somebody that's already on staff, let's say 50% of their time, which I'm thinking 50% is probably gonna be, should be enough, I think.
depends on how much money you got and how you wanna spend it.
Well,
Program
let's just
C.
say because the colleges are gonna have people on staff. Let's say they got a somebody that's at $60,000 a year, and they're gonna 50%, so $30,000 coming out of the grant money will pay half of that person's salary, and that person will be responsible for the activities that we're talking about now at the college level. Now, if we have to play that a backup role, as you're suggesting here at the board, then I would be concerned with. I don't think that Josh and Dee can do it, if you know, especially with the active recruitment. So, could a person less than a full time do that at this level?
That I don't see why they couldn't. And I've written a number of contracts where they're cross grants, and usually it doesn't work out too well. They'll have more activity going on in another part of their portion. They may actually in the end spend 50-50, but right at the time that you need them, they might be doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times that does happen. Their boss will pull them off and say, wait a minute, don't do that, come do this. All right, and that might go on for 2 or 3 critical weeks when you need them the most, or you may only get 2 hours a day.
So you're advocating for a dedicated full-time position?
I think maybe a part-time would be all right, maybe like, I'm just saying if it was me, part-time's good, but I would still have a couple full-time people on here, you know, to reach out, to back them up and keep them going. You gotta keep somebody out there circulating among them and going out with them and making sure that that's occurring, because you're gonna get in a
That would be
situation.
me.
Yeah, that'd be me.
It's gonna take more than one. That's my guess. It's gonna take more than one. But if you really get busy with this, and I anticipate that once you get it going, there's a lot of them gonna wanna jump on.
Yeah.
There's a lot that we haven't called on in a long time, so you're gonna call on some, especially in North Mississippi, where in Northwest area, I know of 20 up there that are ready to sign now,
Mm-hmm.
according to Major Bear, Lieutenant Colonel Bear. We talked to them yesterday, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but and I'm telling him, by the way, to coordinate with you on these things. You know, so he can sign a program with me. He's got all the personnel in the world. So you got his personnel to help him. You know, you don't have to. He doesn't have to sign everybody up under him. He's got 12,000 apprentices. You only need 100. You need 12 programs. I tell him, don't take your programs. You know, if you're working on something, Baxter or one of these auto, you know, for him to work with you and have to get that set up, because we're still going to get his people in there. They'll be just enrolled under your program. He's looking to use the GI Bill, and so he's going to still get the same thing accomplished. He just needs to be able to work with you on some of that. Anyway, that's another issue. But
the thing that I'm most concerned right now is the infrastructure of our program. So we're thinking, in the way that we wrote in the proposal, was that the colleges would serve as the RA sponsors, right? Because they're on the front line. They're out there in those districts. They already have pre-existing relationships with employers. So through the RFP process, we're going to require them to play the sponsor's role.
Mm-hmm.
So I want what
As
I
they
want
should.
what
As
I
they
want to
should.
establish today is that what we need to do,
yes,
and just leave it as that approach, or the conversation just about having the board as a backup?
I would have them. I would still have one sign. You could just put one apprentice in it to keep it active. Just leave it there. You don't have to do anything with it.
See,
If it's there, you don't have to go try to sign one up real quick just in case you've got an emergency come up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just confused, because I'm hearing Alabama.
That's just an example.
Yeah, and they're not doing any of that, and they're not being responsible for it. They're bringing in the leads, they're getting credit through you all for signing up, correct?
Their employers are getting the tax credit. That's
yeah, they're getting the tax credit.
It's a whole
But-
different
but-
approach.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, for the actual, like, getting credit for the program when they leave.
They don't have a DOL grant to do this.
Yeah.
They're just doing it on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're not
so-
an intermediary either, really. They're just on their own. So it's a nonprofit group. that
Josh, they just some very
What are they out of?
one's out of
Or who do they work for, is what I'm asking.
they have that is the state of Alabama, and they work for AIDT.
Okay, so their workforce
Mm-hmm.
group.
Yeah, they're linked up to WIOA.
Yeah.
And so they're, and that's a whole nother thing. We
Yeah,
do.
so they don't have
go there.
they don't have an SAE grant, they're just doing it because they wanna see more.
Right, and they're not
information.
intermediary, they're not a AI grant either, so
But
they're just doing it on their own.
They're
To help their
connected into the
businesses.
WIOA system.
Yes.
So that way it's all recorded through the WIOA system. They're getting all the OJT and everything else that flows through the WIOA.
They're getting some credit for placements.
system.
Yeah.
And did they get a state, who pushed the state legislation for them to get the tax credit?
I do not know who pushed that. That's something, it's state legislature, so I don't know exactly where, but that tax credit came out in 2016.
Mhm.
So
And it's only good for 4 apprentices or 5?
it's $1,000 per apprentice, up to $5,000, so you can have 5 apprentices.
So they had a lot of industry associations that went to the
Yeah, the large-
legislature to lobby
yeah.
for that.
Yeah, yeah, the larger company, and they're focusing on, small companies.
That's
Small
what we
company.
need here. That would be the perfect setup, but I don't see that happening. We're short on cash anyway, and I don't
But
think we can do that.
I believe the
I'm
key
just
to
concerned that
them.
because they don't have to do the paperwork though in the end. They're not monitoring.
I'm gonna
Now,
teach them how to do some standards, cause I can't keep
DOL
up.
is monitoring though in the
Right,
end.
they're our
DOL is
Yeah.
the one that's
For
liable.
my programs, yeah.
Yeah, not the organization,
Right.
where the sponsor here would be liable for the monitoring.
That's right.
And we say monitoring, okay. The monitoring is really not that complicated. Your monitoring is mainly making sure that they're providing the training
Mhm.
to the apprentice. So we're not gonna come in and slap your hand on anything. And if you got somebody enrolled, you made your goal. That's all there is to that. If they're supposed to do, if they have 5 or more, they gotta have affirmative action plan, selection procedures. And y'all would probably wanna make sure that's occurring for legal purposes.
5 or more apprentices.
It's 5 or more, 4 or more, 5 or more.
5 or more.
5 or more.
5 or more.
All right, you wouldn't wanna do that for, make sure they have a valid EEO procedure on hand and a selection procedure, just in case somebody filed a complaint, they would have a basis to defend themselves in court.
That's
Everybody should, every company should have that. They should have it anyway,
Right.
like most of them do.
And Josh, every company that I've signed up, whether it's small or large, I got one lady, all she has 1 employee, she has 1 apprentice.
So how does that work? Because then you have to do the curriculum through the school, since they only have 1 apprentice, how does that?
NCCER.
Oh, so all they need is this NCC certificate and
They just go online and get it.
then they don't need 30 hours of credit or something else, they just.
They can get credit off the NCCER, I believe. I haven't checked with them, I believe that they're.
There's what happens is they have an entire curriculum for the NCCR. Let's just use this one company I have, and
Which
they're
Mississippi
sprinkler
Construction
fitters.
Education
Yeah,
Foundation does it.
same deal,
Yeah.
same deal.
And it's pretty serious stuff. Now, they don't go into much depth as a union. Where they do 2 hours on one subject, they may do 3 in the union. But a lot of employers don't require that amount of depth for their employees on the job, because their jobs may not require that much depth. But when you have a union employee, they're fully trained in everything. So that's the difference between the two. It's the depth of training.
There is a requirement to have 144 instructional hours though per year, right?
Yes.
And we're not, nobody's gonna measure you on that either. That's just a suggestion.
Okay.
We like to see that. If
Okay.
you make 100, we're not gonna fuss at you.
Okay.
So this
So-
company
It
that
is
only
so
has 1
much-
apprentice, they don't have to do the 140 hours?
Yes,
We want them to.
I want them to do, and she's fine with it. Okay, she's fine with it.
So how do, a community college, for instance, trying to do the curriculum pathway or whatever that we're
Right.
talking about, for something like this, how's she gonna get those credits? 'Cause
Well,
they can't just do it for
If she was going through a community college, I would think that she would meet with this. You tell me. She would take what objectives that she wants for her student to learn classroom related.
So any classroom.
Well, let's take the
That's
objective.
related.
Let's say what subjects she wants this person to learn. Okay, for classroom. Then she would approach that community college, and she would say, "Hey, look, these are the objectives or the class content that I need for my employee. Can you support that?"
How much of it you can support?
What's the line of, let's establish the line of business first. What is this lady doing? What's the company all about?
Sprinklers.
sprinklers.
Sprinkler fitter.
Okay, so then the skill set that this person is learning is
Pipe fitting.
Yeah.
plumbing,
Yeah,
Pipe fitting.
Yeah.
pipe fitting, okay.
Little pipe welding,
All right.
backing.
So she's,
Grading.
so this lady is training this one apprentice in that area.
Yeah.
So then she would go to her local community college and find a program of study that's most closely related to that pipe fitting.
But the
Occupation.
community college doesn't
Or-
have to revamp their curriculum to specifically fit.
You don't understand how that works.
Well,
They
that's
don't,
what,
they don't go to the community college and get any of that.
well, they could.
If it's there, they can, but they're not gonna go in and do something special. They get it off the NCCER, then on the very subjects that they can't get that, like English, writing, math, blueprint reading, basic electricity, that sort of thing, they can go get that off the shelf at the community college. They can get the community college academic counselor to help them make sure that their course is certifiable to a degree, to make sure it covers all
Right.
the aspects of that occupation.
Right.
That's something we can't do. We don't have that expertise.
All right, but
Right, so that's where we would wanna start though, I think. So when the community college, business, RA business specialist and D are talking to a company and they say, yeah, we wanna do an RA program, and you start working through these standards that we're gonna get to eventually. And they say, this is the occupation and these are the things they need to know, and this is the amount of classroom instruction they're gonna need on these topics. Then the first step we wanna have happen is for them to go back to the community college and say, here are the things that we can offer related to the classroom instruction that you
Yes.
want to provide.
Yes.
Because we are trying to position more of the community colleges as the RTI's partner
You
in
wanna
this.
find out first what they are already teaching and how they're getting it.
If the college isn't, if the company isn't already doing any teaching.
Well, you always use, when you set one of these up, you don't go in and destroy what's already there. So a lot of times they
No, we
spend a
don't.
lot of money on it, so you go in and ask them, you set the classroom training up using what they already have. And then over a period of time, you don't do it all at once, you go and improve what they got. You go to the community college and you get those things that you can get from the community
I
college.
think we would flip that though, Woody. I don't think we're trying to destroy anything. I think as part of the assessment, we would start with what are you already offering? What kind of training are you doing that would contribute to the RTI?
How long are you planning on spending setting these standards up?
It didn't have to take long. This is part of some of the initial conversations. My point is that you can find out what the companies are already doing and whether or not that can be leveraged in the initial conversation. And if they aren't doing anything, or if they're not doing enough, then we can go to the community college. I don't think we have to wait months to bring the community college in. I think we want to bring them in from the beginning, because that's our whole program.
Well, yeah, you can. Let me just point something, I'm gonna tell you a little story.
Okay.
Okay, I had an employee, I gave her some programs, still on now, very nice lady, very thorough. She wanted to set up everything perfectly before the standards were signed. And in the process, we lost it.
We're not trying to be perfect. We just want to get more.
She went 9 months trying to get it all perfect, and she didn't know. And so finally, I said, whoa, we pulled it all back, stop. Sign the set of standards.
Mhm.
Whatever's there is good. Sign them, and then come in and work on all that stuff. Don't do it first.
Right.
You take your 30 days, you should have that set of standards signed up, and you should have them go, and then you can be working on that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, you're building them, that's the very thing these standards are so good about, is that you're gonna be continually developing that classroom training and OJT schedule, and it's gonna take a long time to get it right.
Okay, so let's back up then for a minute, Woody. So when you would sit down with the company and they say, I want to do this RA, and here's occupation, and these are the competencies we want this apprentice to learn, which will include, and you go pop that into the RA standards builder, and it pops out here. These are the things that they need to learn.
It's not gonna pop that out. It's gonna pop out, the outline really comes from us. We have a rough outline of maybe 10 or 12 items, and we hope this is what they're covered, that
Which you
occupation
draw
covers.
from where? We'll get to training.
We
Okay,
have
we'll
it from
get that.
something way in the past. This is the area that is our extreme weakness. We don't have that information, and we have to make it up as we go. Every APR and state director everywhere has to make up their own classroom training schedule.
Right, and so this is where okay, so backing up, I'm just trying to make sure I'm following you, because we're trying to figure out how to fit our community colleges into this process. So when you're sitting down with the employer and you've determined, okay, they need to know these skills and competencies, and then we're gonna go back and create a set of standards related to
Uh-huh.
that. At what point does the employer say, okay, and here's who I wanna work with to provide the educational component? Do they say, I got my own internal educational team, or I wanna work with the community college, or find me somebody, I have
Combination.
no idea?
Combination.
Okay, but when do they say that?
When, and we'll talk about that as we move forward here, but when you're in your initial visit,
Mhm.
there's some questions. Think of it this way, you're gonna be exploring.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Alright.
we already asked that question, and we asked, what do you actually need?
Yeah.
And, I mean, we position it as the community college can work with you to really give you whatever you need that you don't have right now.
Right.
Right, so I think, Gloria, these standards, there's some stuff that we can't, go around, but it's pretty flexible.
Right,
So,
but you want the educational partner involved in helping the
Yeah.
development of these standards, not after the standards are signed on, is that correct?
yes.
Okay.
This is what you would like, I think you should.
Let me-
Could you walk us through
Wait,
just how
let me-
you do it?
Let me
We're gonna
say
get to that
this.
in the training.
I don't wanna go too far on all this, but let me give you an analogy. Now, I don't know if this is good enough. Alright, so you're gonna buy a car.
Mhm.
You know that runs good, it's got air conditioning, has a lot of buttons on it, and you know basically what those do. Nobody's gone into a lot of detail with you. So you buy the car. And then the technician comes out and shows you how to work all the buttons. You don't go find out how the things work first and then buy the car. They're not gonna take the time to show it. You're not gonna take the time to go through all of this stuff unless you have a basis for doing it. You better have set science standards. Okay, so your goal first is to get the standards signed, give them the basics. This is how it works, this is what it looks like. We're gonna go into the details and the fine print and get all the things lined up like you want to at some point in the very near future, but first of all, we gotta get this registered. So when you're selling those standards, you're selling to put those standards in Rapids. You're not selling for any of this other stuff. This other stuff comes second, no matter what.
Okay, so it's just a sequencing question for me. So so you're suggesting that once you go talk to the company about the standards, you wanna just get the skills and competencies which are embedded in the standards, get them to sign off on that first, and then the secondary conversation is, here's how our community colleges can help you
That's
to address it.
right.
Okay, that's fine, I'm okay with the
Yes.
sequence, I just need to
If you try to
understand.
do it anybody else, you won't get the standards most of the time. You'll sit there and spin wheels, I don't wanna do it this way, and I think the way to do it, and and you're 60, 80, 90 days down the way, and then somebody's gonna come and say, we've been spending a lot of time on this, and we just don't have the time for it, and, let's talk about this in another day. And I've had that happen, and so through experience, that you give them an outline. This is basically what this occupation is. It's got these for classroom training, this for OJT. We're gonna fine tune this stuff, we're gonna take what you got, the best parts of it, and we're gonna talk that over later.
Mhm.
We're gonna show you how to do all the buttons.
Okay,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
fine.
So it is customizable.
Yes.
Once they sign it, they can. If someone's trying to do mechatronics,
Well, why would
It-
you customize all this and not have a signed set of standards? Think about
well,
it.
that's
You're
right.
wasting your time. You
Yeah,
don't
just,
have time.
yeah. So you're just getting them to sign up and say, I agree to it, and we're going to work with you to, and that's
figure
where
out
the
the
community
details.
college.
If they don't
comes in.
want the program, they can cancel the program
Right,
anytime.
and they can just let it,
They
like
don't
you
have
said,
to
after
do,
a
they can
year.
write you a letter and say, after second thought, I don't really want this, and that's fine, we'll cancel it.
Mhm.
When it happens, it happens.
Right.
But you cannot sit there and do all this stuff and
Right.
not have a signed set of standards because you don't have time to mess with that.
Right.
There's only one or two of you, there's two of us.
Yeah.
I got the whole state. I cannot do that.
Mhm.
I cannot get into that kind of detail. If I do, I will never sign a program. I might get one or two a year. And I can't, they're not gonna keep me doing that,
Well, Michael, are you ready to?
Yeah, I think a lot of the questions that
Let's
you
let
have.
Michael go on and go through,
I think
because we're
it'll-
skipping all
yeah.
around.
I
I
don't
think
know
it-
if we're skipping all around. I think we're getting on the.
Yeah, we're answering the question, but I'm saying, let's let Michael.
So we're gonna
go
do
through
the
his thing.
standards training now,
Yeah.
and then come back to the rest of the meeting.
Yeah, I think a lot of your questions are gonna be answered, Gloria. And
Okay.
like I said before, this is very flexible. What I sent you is a group non-joint boilerplate, and you guys will be able to use that. And you can just, well, this is gonna be whatever community college here, you would put that information in there. And whatever occupations, and we'll talk about the occupations in a minute. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Go back down. Now you got your table of contents here. You can go to it. It's pretty easy. You go to whatever section you want to go to. The first section we're going to look at, and everything that you will have to add in the is highlighted in bold yellow. So you don't have to read through anything. We got all that taken care of for you. We've taken this is pretty much ready to go. I will send you another copy because it's something I need to put on the signature pages.
Sure.
So you would be the sponsor, or let's just use Mississippi Community College System.
Yeah.
You would put your information here and insert whatever occupations that you have. So let's say it's going to be electrician. So you would put electrician in there.
Okay.
In high-tech industrial, it's maintenance electrician. Same thing as electrician.
Everything here is.
Now, will we have to do any alignment, because I know there is a list, DOL has a list of apprenticeable occupations. Is there any alignment that we need to do when we put in the title here for the occupation with what your list says? If we just call it electrician, it's supposedly industrial
Hold that
maintenance.
thought. I'm going to get that for you.
Okay.
Hold that thought. So all of this, as you can see, it's already been taken. I've cleaned everything up in here for you.
Boilerplate, yeah.
Okay? It's a straight shot D. We can practice this as D and Josh as much as you like. If you ever have a question, just pick up the phone and call one of us. All right? D, I know you go down and visit on the coast, so I'm available as you go down there and visit on the coast. Right here, it suggests the structure of the Apprenticeship and Training Committee. That is optional. Most companies, and well, let me back up. When you go and talk to an apprenticeship or a potential sponsor, the first thing you need to find out if it's a union or a non-union. If it's non-union, you can use this. If it's union, give me a call. I didn't make you one because I didn't think you'd go that route, but I would have to make you one. And also on something, if you walk into a company and they tell you you're union, they're union, you stop the visit until there's some union representation there. All right, I almost got in trouble with that early on, so make sure, please remember that. All right, so they may want to structure themselves an apprentice training committee. That could be somebody. It's got to be somebody from the trade. You know, it's usually one of the journeymen, a foreman. There may be somebody for representation from the HR department. Those type of people that would represent. They would be also probably helping out with the curriculum, OJT, their evaluations, whether they need to repeat a process that will go through the committee.
So that would be certainly recommended, it seems like, just to make sure everybody's
Yeah.
on the same page.
We have a number of those
Yeah.
committees that are non-union, and they help the company run their program, and they help you. So if you can set them up, they're your advantage.
They're going to be, in all honesty, Gloria, they're going to be the ones that are going to be your best friends over there. Because they're the ones that's going to be looking out for stuff, as well as telling you where they need to improve. When you first start a program, it's just barely on training wheels, okay? They can barely, get the bike going. So you're going to have to nurture. This whole thing is a relationship, and you got to nurture it till they get where they can start running or riding their bike. And hey, you're looking pretty good. Let me take one of them training wheels off, and you just keep on till they can ride on their own.
I've had to burp many apprenticeship programs.
He's still burping me. Now, remember, if there is any type of, I don't know of a non-union company that would have a collective bargaining agreement, but if there's something like that, you need to stop and find out more about it.
But so how do you walk in and you say, that's the first thing you say is, are you union? And then collective bargaining agreement?
Yeah, and
Ask them if
I'm-
they have a collective bargaining agreement,
Right.
and then ask them if they want to have union representatives there
Okay.
to discuss this. They may say no, but you still need to make sure that they're aware that they've made the union people aware.
Okay.
They don't have to be there. And we, like Entergy, they don't have their CDA people there at all, it's just all
Right.
management.
And I'm
Okay.
wondering,
I have I got some talking points I'm gonna share with y'all that I
Yes,
go
please
through
do.
on my visit,
Please
and if we have time, we'll go through those. Yes.
and I'm wondering, as a part of y'all's process, our MAPS process, if you should have some one-page paper or form up front that says, the MAP team did inquire whether or not you have a collective bargaining agreement in place, and you indicated no, and it's signed and dated.
That to me is a little threatening if
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of the table, because I've been there. You guys need to come in and be as non-threatening as you can be.
Right.
And I said, this is a relationship. And
Right.
what you're doing is exploring to find out exactly what pain I got. Because I got one.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting down with you, I got a pain and I need you to fix it.
Right.
I'm looking at you like a Tylenol bottle.
Right.
All right? So I want you to be able to help me out. But if you start getting me right off the bat to sign something, no.
I think in our follow, I get where you're going with
We'll
that,
have a
Kenneth, you're
checklist
just trying
or
to deal with
something.
that liability question that you raised, and so,
And the whole uproar in our state about the concerns around you. So maybe not have them to sign anything, just in your records. Yeah.
Just know this.
and even
Just know
reflect it
this.
back in.
If somebody says, hey, this is a union company, or we split, whatever, just say, okay, well, I got the wrong set of standards. Let me go back and talk to Mike and Woody.
Yeah.
That right there will cue you into, because you can't write this set of standards non-union.
I don't know if that I would just drop it if you got in the door.
Right.
No, I'm
I
just
made
saying,
that mistake.
continue on, but you're just at the exploration,
Right.
but just know that you can't use these standards here. Is what I'm getting at.
I mean, I do my research before I go and visit anyway, and
Right.
I mean, hopefully nothing sort of surprises me. But yeah, okay.
Do you use Hoovers?
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 What is that? I've never heard of that.
Hoover's, if you can get it, is a real good site. We can't use it anymore for some reason. They
Well, I
told
don't
me.
haven't paid for it. Then our guys would
It's
cheat, they won't pay.
HOOVERS.
It's
How
a
much is it
catalog
about?
it's a catalog of businesses,
Well,
right, and who the
yeah.
contacts are, the
That's
HR.
true.
I mean,
Well, they give you a
when
year
I was at
free.
MDA,
Right.
it has another name now.
Used to be Harris's.
Harris's.
But they bought it too.
Yeah.
Hoover's bought it now.
They
It's
you
pretty cool.
you can log on and get a year free, and
Right.
you just got to tell them
Okay.
what your business is.
Okay, okay.
All right.
And it has some really up-to-date,
Right.
good information.
That'd be
Who-
really good to have.
Who they are, who the president and all the people are, the departments, the
Okay.
expenditures, what products, multiple products.
And union or non-union? Is
Yeah,
also that?
most
Okay,
of
good.
the time they'll tell you that.
Okay.
Now you see this right here. Right here, you put if there was any state regulations, depending. I think certain states, I'm going to use electrician because it's just an easy one. Let's say electrician, maybe, well, this person's got to have a helper's license before they can start the apprenticeship
yeah,
program or
okay.
something like that.
Okay.
All right, any type of regulations that you want to put them in there.
You won't see that in Mississippi.
Basically you can just take the highlighted yellow
Just
off. and it's red.
disregard that.
But see right here where it says in the pen, and it talks about it, it says the sponsor, 5 or more registered apprentices are required to adopt an affirmative action plan. We'll get to that in Appendix C, but you see it right there, 5 or more. All right?
And that's the affirmative action statement right there. That's
Okay.
section 3 is what's required.
And most of those would have that anyway through their HR
Right.
department, right?
Yeah.
It's just-
Selection procedures would be different. They would probably wouldn't know about that, but that's a really good thing to have.
Okay? All right, so the next place that would be highlighted in yellow, and I'm gonna try to speed it up a little bit for y'all. I don't wanna hold y'all up, I know you got. But anyway, right here, any physical tests, fitness tests, screening they may have, but I'll be honest with you, there's probably not gonna be any tests other than like like work keys or something like that. So what I normally do with that is I'll take all of this out right here, and I'll leave the parentheses, and I'll put as per the sponsors, as determined by the sponsor. I just do that. That way you're not locking anybody in, because like I said, this is a fluid
Right.
deal we're doing here. So you just put as determined by the sponsor. But
Okay.
if the sponsor says, hey, look, I want them to be able to climb a light pole,
Yeah, Ingles has that requirement, so,
Okay.
They already
That's
have
a
it
fitness
internally.
test too.
yeah.
but if we were going to, I don't know, glove making,
Jimmy-
they just sit there,
Jimmy's light bulb shop.
and they don't, they
Yeah.
just sit, they don't
Yeah.
need that, okay,
Yeah.
we're not requiring it, it's just,
Yeah.
okay.
But they might
They will require it, you're just not necessarily putting it in the agreement because you don't wanna lock them in, is
Yeah,
what you're saying.
exactly.
So
They
they
can have
they
whatever
might
they
wanna
want
be
there.
fluid,
Yes.
we definitely wanna know it, but
Okay.
we
Yeah.
may not wanna put it in the
Okay.
standards.
So
Okay.
the best way is to put as determined by the sponsor.
That's the term.
You have to make sure they're not discriminating.
And we're saying
discriminatory.
sponsors, but do you mean employer, Michael?
Well, for your case, we're gonna have to probably say it's determined by the employer,
Or employer?
Mhm.
okay?
That's, in the sponsor agreement, the acceptance agreement says they're going to accept your sponsor agreement. So,
That's what I'm
whatever
saying,
you
yeah.
have in there for you is what they're gonna have to
Yeah.
go with, no matter what's in there.
Yeah.
So
Hours.
basically, if this was a business, they would be doing the monitoring themselves.
Yes.
So now we've just added another layer where the community college then has to go into the business to do the monitoring for the business, to report back to DLL.
That's where you're gonna get your information.
Yeah, so the community college is taking on all the administrative functions of the RA, which is a
Yeah.
benefit to
Right.
the business, so they don't have to do it.
That's right.
So.
They're still gonna be,
But they're
even
still
though it's
gonna have to be
employer,
there,
yeah,
right?
even though it's employer acceptance agreement, it would be the same thing if they were an ATR and they signed that business up under them. And they're seeing all the action going on, but they're still gonna have to be
So
responsible.
it
Yeah, you
puts the
can't monitor the
liability
company
off the
without
business
the-
onto the community college?
There's not any liability. These are voluntary programs, and when you start talking about liabilities, you're talking about legal stuff. There's nothing legal in here. It's not a binding contract, it's just an agreement. It's a
Yeah.
voluntary agreement. They can walk away, or we can walk away. at
Yeah,
any
so
time.
if there's a hiccup, it's not like y'all gonna come in like, oh, you messed up, like it's.
There's no
Fun is
contract
fine.
Yeah.
agreement here at
Look,
all.
man.
This is not a
Yeah.
contract, it's agreement.
Right, right.
I got
Contract is when I give you something and you give me something back in return.
Right,
Okay, that's a
Right.
contract. This is not.
right.
The only part of this that is a contract is the 671, where the employer agrees to provide to the apprentice the training, and the apprentice agrees to accept the training, and they both sign on that, and that is a contract. And it's the only part of it that is, and that's where you get in the probationary period, where that can be broken within 1,000 hours or 2,000
Yeah.
hours. After that, then it becomes firm, and they have to have a mutual agreement to dissolve that contract,
Man,
which usually it's not a problem.
thanks, Woody. You just rolled me right into this one. After the applicant, this is the next section. This is what I want to call your attention to. Is after the applicant for apprenticeship has been selected, but before employment as an apprentice, the enrollment process, the apprentice needs to have a copy of the written agreement, which is the 671. We'll jump into that in a minute.
Right.
But that's part of the registration process.
Okay.
So they need to sign, they need to review, you need to review the apprentice agreement with them, and they sign it, and then when you come back, you put them in the rapids.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so wait a minute.
Yeah.
But when you start this, the company may not have an apprentice.
If
So,
they don't have one.
but do
yeah.
we still need to review the blank agreement, the template?
The agreement that he's talking about is actually the set of standards.
Okay, so when the apprentice is ready to join, they will sign
The
these
You
same.
give them
671.
a copy of that, so
Yeah.
this is what the company agreed to
Sure.
follow
Okay.
as their training plan, their
Right.
training outline, it's apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And this is all the stipulations in there, and that's what he's talking about.
See, Gloria, it's everybody, all parties,
Getting the same thing.
everybody getting the same thing, everybody knows their responsibility.
Okay, got
The
it.
apprentice knows, the sponsor, well, you guys know the sponsor as well as the employee. Everybody's got a role in this.
Every sponsor agreement is gonna be exactly the same,
Mhm.
so there's not any difference between one and the next.
Now, this next section here, you need to determine, and that's gonna be through conversation for you guys with the potential employers, whether it's gonna be time-based, hybrid, or competency-based.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys have researched competency-based, time-based, and hybrid.
Yeah,
That can
We
get
wanna know
time
more.
consuming, and so the best thing to do is put it in as time-based.
Okay.
You can always come back and change it to competency or hybrid.
Yeah.
Time-based would be just like 8,000 hours or 6,000 hours, wherever the occupation is. Sometimes when you enroll them into Rapids, it's gonna populate it as competency-based or hybrid,
Right.
and you're not gonna be able to get around it. And, there's a difference in hours. So if it's an 8,000 hour program, a competency-based would be, you could go down to 6,000 hours. And competency-based, you would have to measure what the person already knows,
Right.
and then determine what they don't know, and you have to figure all that out. That's time consuming.
yeah.
And that's not something you want to get involved in, so you want to try to stick with time-based as much as possible. If the company wants to go to competency-based, you would let them do that.
Right.
They would determine who that person is, I mean, what they know, what they don't know, and they could determine the test, whatever. You can look at that, but don't get involved in it, because you're gonna eat up all of your time. They will eat you alive on that.
This,
Well,
I'm gonna leave this with you guys. These are all occupations that we have on file.
Okay.
Now, there's only a handful in here that just says competency based. Most of them are time based and competency. You can take a pick
Hybrid.
or hybrid. I mean, but there's only a handful in here that just has competency based.
Can you give me an example of one competency based?
Well, let's see here. I just had that one
I
page.
just
in
want
there.
to know.
All right. Here's one. Press setup operator stamping.
Huh.
We will have to look at the process
How
there.
many hours is that?
Doesn't give you any
So-
hours. It's competency based.
So
Yeah.
you don't know how many hours it
Yeah.
is,
Right.
and it's based on measurements.
Yeah,
you gotta
we would
pay
have to
And,
do
and,
it.
and
Yeah.
who's gonna do that?
Man,
Yeah.
if I was y'all,
Yeah.
I would stay away from competency based. It's just gonna become a nightmare for you, especially
Yeah.
when you're just getting started.
Right.
I would leave them alone.
It has its value. If you have a really big company and they have personnel to do it,
Yeah.
then you can evaluate those people, and it really is a benefit to the apprentice and the company, because they can move them through the training and get the training that they really need instead of just stuff.
Yeah,
they don't
we
need.
for
had-
IT.
And we had a staff of 25 and didn't want to fool with it.
Mm.
You know, we would we'll give you extra credit in the time base.
So what we found is some people are just gonna go faster than others.
Yeah.
And they're gonna get through before others, and you just complete them when they're ready. You
Yeah.
don't have to leave them in there the full 8,000 hours.
Right.
If it's an 8,000, they're done at 62 hours. I have to
Yeah.
go get the completion certificate, they're done.
Yeah.
The others may stay in there to the full 8, some of them may go 9,000.
Mhm.
See, there's every person is different,
Right.
Mhm.
and their circumstances are different. They may have extenuating circumstances that delay them from moving from one payment point to the next,
That's right.
or a period to the next. So you have to understand that. And if you have somebody that goes over, you just extend them as long as you need to, as long as they're active. If they become inactive, then after a reasonable length of time, then you have to terminate them. You know?
so, when you do time-based, is it the automatic 6,000?
Depends on the
or-
occupation.
Right.
I'm
Okay,
gonna
so they
leave
pop
this-
you, who tells you that?
That.
This
Okay.
right here. This is your book.
Mhm.
So,
Look
D,
at
do me a
electrician,
favor.
it's
Look up.
8,000 an hour.
It's in the
What is that?
alphabetical
Is
order.
that
Look
the
up.
list of apprenticeable occupations?
Right.
Okay, I have that,
this-
yeah.
What's that one highlighted in orange?
It's airplane cover.
Yeah, airplane cover. Now look over. What does it say? TB,
TV, that's correct.
time base. How many
Time base.
hours?
No, there is no. Oh wait, it's 8,000. I'm sorry.
8,000 hours.
Right.
So that's 1,000 hours per 6 months. So it'd be 4-year program.
Right.
All right. But now, the odd thing about that particular, because I was looking for something for another company, the odd thing about that particular occupation is there's only a few people that do it. And guess what? The United States Navy happens to do that type of work. All right.
So that's it.
So, when the company was looking into it, yes, they were looking for veterans, and but they said, hey, we want to train them some more. All right. So they were talking. I got to follow back up with them.
Is that Airbus?
No, it's MAS, MAAS. They are looking for a program. But what they want to do is say, well, it's time-based, but these people, we're getting them from the military
Oh, they
and from
already
other
know.
occupations.
They're advanced.
From what's the company up in Seattle? Boeing.
Boeing, yeah.
So but they want to make sure that they do it their way. So they're looking at time-based hybrid type of deal.
Okay.
Okay.
Hybrid also means a combination of traditional classroom training, OJT, but you might have some electronic-based training in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you got electronic, online.
Online,
Right,
yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
And so that's what you'll find. Every one of the time base will have all of this mixture of stuff in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And it's when you look at it, it's nutty. How do you learn anything with this? But somebody's got to figure it out.
That's very helpful.
So you got your probationary period there.
Let me say one thing. If somebody comes in and has a very significant amount of experience, most of the employers are going to put them to work and see how they do. And they're going to try to measure is how much credit hours to give them. So they may come in from Boeing with 2 years of training building 747s, and they might be working at Airbus. And Airbus says, yeah, we want this guy, but we don't know what he can do. Has completed his apprenticeship program. So they're gonna put him on the job, they're gonna assess him, they have an assessment mechanism,
Right.
and it'll tell them about what that person knows, and when they
Mhm.
put them in the apprenticeship program, they can give him credit for those hours he's already got,
Uh-huh.
and it shortens the amount of time till he gets out, and they will train him on the areas that he doesn't have that expertise on, so
Right.
this is a version of competency based sort of, but
Right.
you're giving them credit, but it's not, they're on the job,
Mhm.
assessing them, supervisor assessing them, so they're not measuring it with some kind of test, they're actually observing.
Observing, yeah. And so, I mean, if it's, because every 2,000 hours you get a raise.
Every
So-
2,000, well, it's every 1,000, it's whatever the.
Whatever the
Whatever
company
company comes up
yeah.
with.
It could be every 6
Yeah.
months, every 3 months, the
Uh-huh,
employer
yeah.
gets to choose that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's not fixed on every 6 months, every 1,000 hours.
Okay.
It could be if it's a shorter program, a lot of times if it's 4,000 hours, they'll move that to every 3 months. Or a year, it might be
Okay.
4 months.
Okay.
Three or four payments in a 1 year period.
Right.
So you find out what they wanna do and you let them
Mhm.
decide,
Right.
it's their money.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
Okay.
Good?
That's
All
it.
right.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. The probationary period shall be, whatever months or hours you and the, employer determine.
It's 25%.
25% or a
You know,
year.
Yeah.
Okay.
2,000 hours about maximum, 8,000 hour program.
And the
That's
next,
credit for previous experience.
okay, now, this next one here, credit for previous experience we just talked about.
Mhm.
So, you can, they can put that in there, whatever the sponsor determines, as determined by the sponsor, you can
Right.
put that.
Okay.
And let me say one other thing about that. The employer decides how much credit to give the person.
Mhm.
And it may be something you disagree with, but you don't have any right
Yeah,
to say
yeah,
that.
yeah, you
They
can't
might
put
give
them
them
that.
7,000 and you might think maybe there's 2,000. And so
Mhm.
they're gonna get out 1,000 and have the degree, their
Right.
apprenticeship credential. Well, that's their choice.
Yeah,
It's a
right.
voluntary program,
Right.
and when it comes up on my desk to complete, I just, okay, because the
Mhm.
employer sending it to me, they know that person in that situation, and I'm not out there and I don't know it. So I have to trust them, and
Right.
so if it says complete, I push the button, and
Right.
it completes them, and they're done, we send them completion certificate.
Okay.
It's their
That-
employee. I'm entrusting that if they say they got the skills. I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't hire them for us.
Right.
That's
It's
where
there.
building that relationship
Yeah.
with that company comes in, because you'll know how they're working with their people and they're not. So if they're not working with their people, and you see that,
Right.
I put the big old question mark, and I'll be out there.
Mhm.
I'll make a point to go out and see them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although there's no obligation for them to hire the person, I mean, to keep them on.
Well, they're already hired.
They're already hired, but still technically speaking, right?
But then they would have to get into, it's an HR issue, just like any other employer, just like you. I can't hire you today and then just fire you tomorrow without cause, so they have to have a reason,
Except in probation.
except in that 1 year probation period,
Or whatever.
or their 25%.
Most companies are gonna tell you, like 90 days to 6 months, though.
Mhm.
A year is,
Too long to keep somebody you're
man,
not sure you want.
you'd be shaking in your boots. I
You
wouldn't
need
wanna
to
be the
explain
employee.
that to the people so that the HR will know that they
Mhm.
mutually can agree to quit. But it
Right.
doesn't mean you have to fire the employee, you can
Right.
put them somewhere else. That
Right.
program just wasn't, it's like
Wasn't
getting the
right,
wrong
yeah.
degree in college, and then
Right.
you just didn't get in something you really could do or want to do.
Okay.
So the work experience, we pretty much got that down, but related instruction, once again, it talks in there about the 144 hours,
It says a minimum,
okay? So a minimum of 144
recommended.
hours of related instruction.
it's recommended.
So now let's talk about that for a second.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does say recommended in the regs and stuff. But if we come back and we say 70 hours, 72 hours, y'all gonna flex.
Well, let me just say this.
Yeah.
Let me give you a number right now.
Okay.
And this is what I got from my training last year. Remember the 144. Try to stay no less than 120. We can stand up on that one. It's not that in the 120 Woody, it's not written anywhere.
Mhm.
However, what they told us in school is you'd be safe to let the sponsor do 120.
You don't have to do it all at 1 year. You could have 70 in 1 year, as long as over the next couple of years you can come back up. A lot of people, to save money, they don't do the classroom training on the front end when they first come in. They'll wait till second part of the first year
Yeah,
or the second
second
year,
semester or
because
whatever.
it's expensive.
Yeah,
If
and
you
make sure
spend
they're
$3,000 or
staying.
$4,000 and a
Right.
person walk out the door, your money's gone.
That's right.
And these are 144 seat hours, right?
Clock
Hours
hours.
spent in a
Yeah,
training
Related
session.
instruction.
Seat hours.
Or
So-
online, or,
So
After
like
hours.
one class, if they're gonna get RTI, let's say, we're using the electrician example, if they're taking a class in drafting or something like that. That one semester class is probably, that's probably gonna surpass the 140.
Yeah, and we've counted stuff like that, and that's probably all they're gonna do.
Yeah.
That, the major part of it, if it's a semester, they can get it all in one. We have, a number of them that do 900 hours.
And is this RTI requirement per year or
Recommended.
144
Recommended
total?
per year.
Per year.
Per year.
so it's
Okay.
576, if it's a 4-year program, it's
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
if they were in the classroom for that one semester, they got the 576, then they're
Total,
done.
yeah.
And that probably wouldn't happen in one semester,
That's,
but.
yeah, that's
but-
a lot of, unless
but-
they just didn't do anything but that and didn't do the ODA cheetah. They can
Well-
do that front loaded.
Keep in mind now, they'll probably give them some instruction on
On the job.
safety.
Oh, like OSHA.
And that could count towards
That's classroom
RTI.
instruction.
Right, because it can be, the classroom instruction can be provided through the college and or by the employer.
Mm-hmm.
So we would
Right.
need to make sure that we,
You know, it's just, when you're looking at these hours and they're working online,
Right.
you can't tell how many seat hours they've got.
Mhm.
When you look at the completion, so if they're doing NCCER and maintenance electrician and they were already to the end, passed the test and they did it like that, well, how you gonna count that hour? You don't know, but they did the work.
Mm.
So if you wanna assess a certain amount of hours to that particular course as seat hours, and that person did the classroom training in 2 days, and it normally takes somebody 6 weeks, well, you see, you get in, you have to have a way to account for that time to be fair.
Right, right.
Just because they're smart and somebody else is not quite smart, it's not fair
Their
to
fault.
penalize this person.
Right.
So that course has gotta be worth a certain amount of seat hours,
Mhm.
Okay.
even if they finish it early.
Right.
So it seems to me that this is one of the things that we'd have to establish up front when when the college is doing the agreement with the employer,
Right.
and if you're at the table with them, all of this needs to be kind of decided.
Well,
Right.
and what I'm thinking of is, how do I make it as easy as, like, if the employer wants to give them more than 144, but that's
Fine.
go
Fine.
ahead. But I want to be able to say to a business, this is the minimum, but you can achieve this number if you don't need them to be in the classroom an extended amount of time. You can achieve this number via a variety of ways, and more than likely your apprentice is going to need anyway.
Just do this, D. Always, D and Josh, always advertise minimum 144.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Don't go into the 120 until you just,
Oh
You
yeah, I
get
would.
pushback.
Yeah.
that's a doggone showstopper.
Yeah.
Then pull it out. Well, you know,
Well, let me see what
Let me
I
call
can
them
do.
dudes over in
Before-
DC.
That sound like
You
concert.
really don't wanna go too far into this
The
before
concert.
you get the standard sign,
Yeah.
because you're wasting
Yeah.
your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, you don't wanna tell them 144 hours plus or minus and then move on.
Right.
Because if you
Yeah.
get into all of this, you're gonna be going back and forth
Yeah.
for a long time. What does this mean? What does that mean?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, you don't, then they may not sign a set of standards and you've wasted all that time. You cannot afford to do that with this kind of stuff.
And he's correct. I think I lost somebody like that recently.
I've lost a number of people before,
I
and some
do.
of them I didn't want.
Yeah.
There's a
Well,
number
I
of them-
wanted this one.
There's
I
a number of them,
lost.
when you deal with them, you're gonna realize that, I would fare better without this person in my workload, because they're gonna absorb all of my time. And I can't afford to do that, and so you have to make some kind of, you have to make some logical decisions. You don't wanna cut people out, but if they're gonna be what I call a problematic sponsor, it's gonna always be calling you and want you to come out and see this or that.
Right.
At some point, you have to tell them no, and they're gonna get mad with you.
Yeah.
Get frustrated with you, and so, is it worth your time to have that when you have all these other sponsors that really need the time and work?
Getting away from.
I don't need to have a goodie basket right in front of me.
I saw you.
Yeah, I don't
I
like
was
this
fixing
is.
to help you.
Please
All right.
help me.
Remember, on this next section here is get the sponsors information.
Okay.
All right.
Transfer of apprentice. That's something that has to be done The sponsor would cannot transfer, it has to go through new,
Yeah.
or through,
Yeah, let's say you can't, for some reason, get this person registered. They moved here from Georgia, and they were in an apprentice program in Georgia, and got here. You went to register them, and it'll pop up in Rapids and say, this person's already registered apprenticeship. Just pick up the phone, call one of us, and we'll call these. Excuse me. We'll call. First thing is ask when that first happens. Ask. This is the fastest way to get done. Ask that person to call their past job and say, "Hey, look, I've moved. I need you to take me out of the apprenticeship program. Please cancel." And hopefully they'll cancel pretty quick. If they don't cancel pretty quick, then the next step would be to call me or Woody, and then we'll find out who their ATR or state director is, and we'll talk to the ATR. We try to handle that at the lowest possible way. It seems to work faster that way.
Can we go back to page, well, they're not numbered, but it's
We do that on
section
purpose.
13.
Where you
The one, it's actually the one that says apprentice sponsor inserts will or will not be paid for hours spent.
Yeah.
I skipped over. I'm
that's
sorry.
important.
I'm sorry. I
That's
skipped
okay.
over that. That one there, it depends on the sponsor. The company I came from, they paid 8 hours for each person in the seat. That's very expensive. Most companies will not pay while they're in classroom training. This is the classroom training part. So it may be, hey, look, we're gonna have class, like that one lady, she has the class with that person at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. They knock off once a week. It may be that, a lot of unions, they do it at night, so they're not on the clock then.
Right.
But there are some companies that say, you know what, we love our employees, and we're gonna pay them while they're in class.
Right, I know Ingles does that half and half, yeah.
So it may be that, hey, look, they may require when they go to the community college to do some kind of sign-in sheet, so they can verify that the person was there.
Yeah, it's skin in the game too. That's
Yeah.
how the Ingles looks at it, skin in the game.
Yeah.
So one question I have, and I think this is fine, because, some may pay release time, some may not. One question I have though, in your experience, do the companies pay for the classroom instruction? So it's, say they go to the community college, not their time in the, but the actual course. So say it costs me, $1,500 to do the RTI for this semester.
Yes,
Will the
they pay
company
for it.
tend to pay for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, in fact, that's part of their training obligation. We'd like to state that to them.
okay,
So we don't want that burden to be on the apprentices. That's gonna hurt the program.
Yeah.
right.
The apprentice should not be paying for that.
We have some that will want them to get a certain grade point average, and they pay, and then they'll reimburse them. But I tell them I don't want them to do that. That's
Yeah.
just, I find out sometimes after the fact, and then I'll come in and tell them, no, you can't do that.
Okay,
So just be upfront right there and say, hey, look,
And your obligation is the apprentice always comes first.
and there might be
Everything that
other
you do.
resources, they could get ITAs, they could get
Pell Grants.
Pell Grants or whatever,
Yeah.
but if nothing else is available, then the company should pay.
Yes.
Okay,
So
And
is
you-
that not a sticking point? I mean, because in our conversations, we always get to a sticking point when we talk about imposing things on employers. Josh most often reminds us of stuff like that. So here you're saying
Yeah.
that it's the company's responsibility, if that's what's gonna be agreed to, that they're gonna pay for a class.
They're already doing it. Why would they stop doing
Well,
it?
not through this example. Through MAP, it would be new, because we're saying MAP is bringing in the community college, so the college is now providing the RTI, whereas the employer may be doing it, but that's what makes MAP unique, is because we're bringing the colleges on board, and the colleges are saying, okay, we're here at the table, your apprentice can now enroll in our college, and there'll be some ancillary fees, by the way, too.
Well,
for
that's the
them
reason
signing
you
up.
won't get some of them too.
Yeah.
There's some that are not gonna pay, and they're on corporate welfare,
Okay, but
basically,
that-
and that's what they want.
And that's why I want to emphasize right here. That's what I'm saying. Are we
Yeah.
saying this? Because
Yeah,
to me,
this one here is there's no, remember I told you some things we just can't get around. That's one of them.
Okay.
But however, let me ask you this question. What about if I may ask this question, what if the sponsor has 5 or more apprentices and they want to hire your instructor as an adjunct instructor.
They get paid for that. Yeah. Theoretically, can't, I don't know.
It has to be
So
10
basically, they
10 or
would,
more.
yeah, I see what you're
Five.
saying.
We do that all the time.
No, basically,
It's a workaround, but
it is a workaround. It's basically
It
saying
comes
we're
to
gonna run
$1
our
and
own
cents.
class, and we just gonna hire your instructor to run our own
That's what
class.
we
So
do.
that would work.
That's,
Through
and
a workforce
they
program.
get that
But that's-
instructor from in-house, but then they get certified by the college. Hopefully they can get certified. We work toward that.
Yeah, you got a
Okay,
journeyman.
we want them to have that vocational certification,
Yeah.
and, we actually look for that. That's one of the things that we look for when we're doing our QA, our annual assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And, it has a place in the checkbox. How did they get their certification and where did they get it?
I think that would be more palatable
Yeah.
to pay for one person instead of 5.
right, it's
Yeah.
a dollar and cents proposition for the company.
Not for the school.
But for MAP, you are diminishing the college's role.
Okay.
At that point, you're just making the college responsible for the recruitment and some of the initial paperwork up front.
I wanna go back to say that for the workforce dollars, that's not for 4 credit classes. Those are non-credit classes. We don't pay for 4 credit classes. So if you have a person, if you have 5 people in a class for a business, they can't, where they're training, they pull them off the line, they get put into a separate classroom where they're having an instructor, potentially from the industry or from the community college, instructing them. And then they could be, and that could go for like OSHA training, all that type of stuff.
This is workforce training.
Yeah, well,
not
this is
credit,
workforce,
credit
yeah,
hours.
this is,
But you
Yeah.
could do PLA.
but we couldn't use any of our funds for credit.
So Woody, for MAP then, for the RTI, are we saying that it has to be credit or does it matter? Can it
No,
be credit or
we
not
just
credit?
want workforce hours, any hours we
We are
get.
trying to promote credit,
promoting,
but I
right.
think we have to be flexible. So
Right.
if the employer says, I don't
need
want credit,
yeah.
or if they say, I need it to start at this time and credit can be flexible to start at that time,
Yeah.
then we need to try to offer them whatever is
Now,
available.
let me go, this is where you and I were talking a minute ago, this is an area that we can probably agree on real closely. What you can do is take their do a workforce analysis of their training and see what areas that they're weak in. They may need written communication skills, they may need some math courses. There's a number of courses that will really improve their training performance. Okay, and you may be able to identify those, and those can be credit courses. And the employer says, we all do assessment, if this person needs it, we're gonna send them over here. Or you may just send them all, because you might find out, hey, these guys can really, it would help them. If it helps them, maybe it helps them get their driver's license, a commercial driver's license, or pass a welding test.
Right, and it's not just the gen ed courses, there are all these career and technical courses, career education courses, whether
Does the
they're.
college get money for those?
Yeah,
Okay, so they're gonna get some money.
whether it's on the credit side or the non-credit side. If so, it's a question of whether they wanna go a industry-based certification route, which they can still do at the college, or they wanna go a kind of college credential route. Depends on what they are trying to teach.
Or a
in there.
combination.
All right, so for the MAP apprentice, is what we really should be trying to do is identify a program of study. Because especially if this is an 8,000 hour program that's gonna take 4 years, and if we have to do a minimum of 144 hours of RTI each year, then the apprentice would be better served, the company would get a better trained employee if this student is pursuing, they may not finish, but they are enrolled in a program of study. It benefits the apprentice.
Dual
What were you
enrollment.
saying a second ago about the apprentice first?
Yeah.
So if that's the thinking going into it, then we try to, since the college is at the table, we try to identify the program of study that will most closely align with the OJT to benefit that apprentice.
That's right, and that's where
It's
that's
actually business first and apprentice. They go
Yeah.
well, the regulations,
business
this
has to
apprenticeship,
decide what they want the training on.
well, this comes out of, directly out of apprenticeship, in the Fitzgerald regulations, and, this is apprentice You're always looking out after the benefit of the
I understand
apprentice,
that, but I'm
always.
saying that the company is the one that's telling what the training needs to be.
Yeah,
They know
that's-
better
that's
than
something.
the apprentice. It's the
I think we all agree,
business.
we have dual customers, so.
Well, what I'm just wanna make sure that's, because I was hearing two different.
Because if you decide on a program of study, if the company has something very specific skills that they are wanting to impart to their apprentice, and that is not beholden in the traditional program of study, then, and I've been pushing that the college, well, in Hines especially, has said, we'll work with you to figure out what you need. That won't fall within a traditional program of study though, so.
Yeah, I think that's right. So I think the starting point is, let's look, okay, here's what you need to know. The company lays that out. Let's look at what program of study aligns most with that.
Okay.
See if you can match them up. Even if it's not, you're not
A
trying to get
perfect
people to take an associate's degree. Maybe
Right.
they want, 3 out of the 8 courses.
Okay.
But at least they're on that path, and if the apprentice wants to keep going, but say the college can't, match any of their courses with, when you want to start doesn't fit our semester, we're not willing to change, move to the weekend or a
Right.
night or whatever, then maybe workforce is a better option. Or workforce doesn't work, then we have to just find something completely different, online or whatever.
Do your job analysis, your
Yeah.
workforce analysis, and find out what areas they're weak and plug those. It doesn't make the credit or non-credit doesn't matter.
But I
What
think
you're trying to
the
do is get the best product for that.
For that company,
company.
and try to make it worthwhile for the colleges or to be involved in.
They're gonna get something.
I know y'all
Yeah.
probably don't want to hear this, but this is where I'm gonna jump in and chime in on what Woody been saying the whole time. It's gonna be easier for you to go Josh's route, workforce, and get them signed and get them going, and then you can go back and start improving.
That's exactly what we're saying.
Improving. You
Okay.
got them signed. You got the horse in the doggone corral now.
Yes.
And you got them signed. You can say, you know what? We've been noticing. You did your job analysis. We've been noticing some things here. It would be, beneficial to your apprentices that we add, I don't know, technical writing.
Right, but you said that in the sequencing in our conversation earlier, that we don't get to this discussion about how until after they sign anyway.
Well, you're
So-
wasting your time.
So we might as well,
Yeah.
once we identify the competencies, you sign on the dotted line, now let's talk about how we can do this.
Yes.
All right, I'm
Maybe
gonna give
CTE,
you a
maybe
problem
workforce,
now.
maybe whatever,
Okay, you're getting assigned.
yeah.
Okay, I got one apprenticeship program, and he was at the meeting down in the coast.
Mhm.
It's International Papers. It's a union company. They have 3 apprenticeship programs, and they're not doing anything. I can't get them to call me back and talk to me. And I'm on the verge of canceling their programs, which if they don't do sometime this year, I'm gonna have to cancel the program. I've been letting them ride. They had somebody in there that wasn't completed, and one of them, I went ahead and completed them. And so, what you would want to do is contact them. Somebody contacted them and got them to the meeting. Somebody knows, okay?
It's the interest.
All right, you can go and work on this very thing we're talking about with them to see what they need to do in their classroom training and their OJT to get their program up and running. They've got 0 in there. They would be your program if you did that. Okay, and so they're non-responsive to me. I think somebody got in behind me and said, oh, you don't need to do that. They have some money.
Mm.
And so you don't need to do that. We'll provide all the training for you. That money's gonna evaporate. And so the guy's now interested, well, how are we gonna train our people in our mill? So they've got, I think it's a maintenance electrician, there's 3 of them. I'll get those to you later, but this is something, that you can apply everything we're talking to right now.
Right.
You got a motivated buyer. If they showed up for the lunch,
That's right.
they motivated.
Right.
Okay.
And we don't want to lose them. They've had that program a long time. They actually, it's a 07 program, but they go even further back than that.
Right.
We broke the one program with 3 occupations in it. Then for EEO purposes, we broke those down into 3 separate programs,
Mhm.
which is easier to look at on an EEO basis, where that program's making it or not. As opposed, we have to lump it all together and then take whatever that total is. Some of the parts of it will be good and some of it will be bad. But if it's all bad, it's all bad. It's all good, you got bad parts in there. So you're not going to know where to put your effort to work on EEO matters. But anyway, if you want to try to understand how this works, go work with that
We
man.
actually have a meeting, that we had, and I think we'll pursue this one first with you all, where the company is interested in sitting down and talking with you all about standards.
Which one?
It's a new company,
Okay.
out of Vicksburg, last 2 years, German. But we had a meeting last week, and so they asked what the next step was, and we hadn't had, standards or anything like this training.
You've had this
So-
training.
You gonna
Okay,
have,
but
We handed it to you.
okay, I'm just saying.
All you had to do is read it. It's the same stuff.
Okay,
that
but
you're
let's just
saying.
say we need to sign them up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We
okay.
can't sign them up. You're the ones who, at this
Well,
point,
I can sign you, I can
We-
get you
I-
registered.
well,
Okay.
we're gonna do this with you all first,
Okay.
because we have to go through the process
Right.
to see how this actually works. We're not gonna go out there, start signing
Well,
people up,
yeah.
and then the community college putting their face on, the community college
Yeah.
signs a bunch of people up, and then all of a sudden,
Our goal is after this, Josh,
so,
What we
you
do is
guys-
we transfer those
yeah,
programs to wherever you want them to go.
I mean, that'll count as we are the ones who brought this,
we're gonna make you a sponsor, man.
to you all, but I'm just saying, like, that will be a map.
It's a
If
voluntary
we get,
program.
and they're not saying that they're gonna do it, they wanna see the standards, they wanna see what the process is, and they need to talk with
Let me
you.
caution you about something, and make sure y'all hear what I'm saying. Anytime the sponsor brings up, well, how much am I gonna get out of it, or they wanna start talking money, then you're pretty much just gonna have to walk away from the table. Because they're there for an alternative reason, which is to get money.
That's why all the people from Alabama are all of a sudden
They're
signing
getting a
up.
tax credit.
Yeah,
That's not coming out of the.
But I was saying,
I didn't wanna
it's a
put it
tax
out there, but
credit.
that's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's how
that's
South
not us.
Carolina.
That's not us. We don't have anything to offer them. If you
Not
give
yet.
them money out of this grant, and they're
Oh, no.
listening
We can't
to
give
us.
them
and on that note, Josh,
We
there's
can't
been-
give them money out of the grant. We
and
don't
on
have-
that note, there's been a couple of companies that, that came wrong. We've had to really be very, very, very careful with who we sign.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I was saying, let's stop the presses here. When you said there's no way around the RTI, that the company was gonna have to pay for the RTI.
They're already doing
Yeah, well, they're already doing it, but I think what's complicating our discussion here and what we keep forgetting about is there's an extra layer here. Because of MAP, we are bringing the community colleges into this process. You guys are still accustomed to talking about you as the sponsor and the employer. And we need to understand that, kind of like what Josh is saying now, we need to understand the basis of the registration process. But we still got to think about the college, and that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I
Because
understand.
I'm asking, like, so when you said that, like in your example, Michael, well, you can just hire an adjunct. Okay, that's fine. So I need to know that so that I can tell the college that's an option.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you start doing that, because what our colleges are going to be looking for is, what can I get out of this,
Yeah.
right?
They want
And
somebody
so,
in the seats,
so
right?
if it's not that we're trying to enroll this apprentice in a program of study, that means that they're not enrolled in college. They're not getting tuition money. So, how does it benefit us?
They do get, if they're in a CTE course, so I think,
For that one course, they'll get the tuition,
but I
they'll
mean, I
get the
get
FTE
the
reimbursement.
full
But
program
this,
of study courses.
But this is all the things that we need to know that we do not know to tell the colleges.
Right.
So we're getting ready to release an RFP and put it out there and say, this is how this is supposed to work. We can't articulate that right now.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
It's not
You're trying to
clear.
put people in programs of study for your college.
I'm not saying we don't have to. What I want to understand is what are all of the things that we can and can't do. Because when we start getting these questions from the college, Josh and Dee are not going to know how to answer them, and neither will I.
Well, ask me, what is it they're gonna ask you?
We're-
Tell us something, let's go through some of the questions they might pose to you.
Well, that's what we're working through now. So, like with the RTI, I'm taking notes here, so I'm getting an understanding. 144 per year is what we're going to recommend.
Yeah.
So that means based on whatever the occupation that this company is hiring this apprentice for, through our efforts, we're gonna and the college that's now at the table, we're going to try to find either a program of study, that would be the Cadillac version, or a series of classes that would benefit that apprentice.
Yeah.
So if they're doing some kind of something math related. Obviously, a math class is gonna benefit this apprentice.
And that's what I was saying, okay, you sign them up, some of them are going to be sponsors they can work with, and some are probably not. Or of the ones that possibly are, you would do a job analysis to see what parts of the training are missing, or what parts that need to be improved.
Yeah.
And then you can either get a credit-based course or a work-based course at the community college to fill in those areas that are weak. You have to identify those weaknesses, and I do this. This is one thing I do. I actually did job analysis. You go through the job, you see the weak areas, and you try to identify courses that you have that you can fill in. If you don't have them, you might be able to make them up, or might be able to get them online. It doesn't, just because you can't get it at the college, doesn't mean you can't get it online. You wanna do the best thing you can for the company and the student, so you're gonna get it somewhere. The company may pay for it, and they may not. And, that's something that you'll have to talk over with them, so that's the answer to that question.
So that's the first step in addressing, starting down the path of discussing RTI. Let's do a job analysis.
You get them signed up first, you get them going, and they may be able to work with the community college, or they may not. If they can't, then, you know, that's not gonna be a major concern to the college. They'll have a number of other opportunities to work with other companies in the area, most likely if they're doing a good job. So the ones that they can work with, they do a job analysis on the classroom training to see where they're weak at. Maybe it's in the OJT side, they can identify it in the OJT side and then transfer it to the classroom training side to see what they need over there to fill that void. Okay, and that's what you do, and that's the only way that I can see. This is a time-consuming process. This was the only way that I can see that the community colleges can actually have students coming to their campus and sitting in their classrooms.
So then,
Unless it's a course that company needs, that's directly related to that occupation that they actually have. If it's tool and die, most of them are not gonna have anything. They might have some math and things like that, or machines. They might have some machining tools and stuff, and a lot of the colleges can't afford that equipment because it's very expensive, programmable. They don't have that stuff. And you'd have to set up a classroom training, a lab at some company that's willing to accommodate the classroom training for a number of companies, at their facility or not for that. But
all right, so then the college needs to, when the college is at the table, you got 3 people at the table. College, the employer, and MAP will be there. So then the employer could say, I don't wanna pay for, I wanna do the very minimum on RTI, which could be, I'll just continue doing the RTI that I'm doing in-house, right? All right, so that's the kind of stuff that I need to understand so that we can explain that to the colleges.
It may be insufficient. So when you do analysis of it, they may not be doing a very good job with classroom training at all. It's not actually meeting the training needs of that occupation. It may be just half of it. So that person's not gonna get fully trained if you don't do an assessment of what they got.
Right, so I think that's where we always have to start with, what are the competencies that the employer said that this occupation requires? Then ask them, to your point, what are you doing in-house related to teaching these competencies? Where are the gaps?
That's what you always ask when you walk in the door.
Yeah.
And you find in ONET, you can find a lot of this information.
That's what your workforce investment boards do when they do traditional on-the-job training.
Yeah.
Is basically they sit down with the business does the traditional on-the-job training with the workforce investment board. The workforce investment board looks at their training plan. You know, they sit there and they go, okay, well, there's gonna be this much time potentially that we're gonna help with training funds and all that because of what the training they've already had, right? And then you run with this, except this now is that, which is this program, plus we're now trying to put in an extra little component to this, basically, to send them into the community college.
Right, and
So basically, most of it is through, like that, most of this, what company is signing on, most of what they're doing is through that avenue. And then we're a component
Through
of
what
this.
avenue, Josh?
The workforce investment
Right.
board.
No.
Okay, I'm just
Right now,
telling
the
you.
workforce board isn't in this at all yet.
No, he's
Okay.
talking about workforce.
I'm just talking about workforce.
Okay.
Okay, I'm talking about
You mean
like,
your workforce education programs?
yeah, I'm talking about just
Workforce.
DOL programs and how they flow.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the nuts and bolts
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
this program right here. The nuts and
Yeah.
bolts of this program really flows through the workforce investment boards. And then what we're
No,
doing.
that's not true. I
Okay,
don't think
okay.
that's correct.
Okay, all I'm saying is, this is how we are doing something completely different than anyone else, basically, not anyone else, but a lot of different people. The way that these programs are established are through the Workforce Investment Board. The
No,
Workforce.
no, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
He's
The Workforce
talking
in-
on a
On
traditional
ONET.
ONET.
I'm
Yeah.
talking their language, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking two very different languages here. I'm
Yeah.
trying to talk your language, I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to learn from here and then also understand from here.
Yeah.
And so basically that's.
What we generally do is get away from ONET, and we first thing we do generally is look at classroom training
Mhm.
and see what they're already doing and what they have. If it's a very brand new occupation, they're not doing anything. We do whatever we need to do, and that's different than somebody that's already got an occupation and they want to enroll in an apprenticeship. And then on the OJT side of it, this is where that ONET comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to divide it into two parts. Classroom training is different than OJT, but then they
Come together. They
They
should
come
complement
together.
each other.
They complement each other.
Mhm. It's
And
a
so
portion.
you look at ONET to get the information of what that occupation is all about, to determine what kind of classroom training is proposed for that would meet those needs. The OJT actually comes from the ONET. You can look and see what needs to be trained based
Mhm.
on the ONET to accomplish the OJT part of it. The classroom training actually comes off of that too. And you have to sit down with the employer and figure out what it is that they need. You know, and you'll spend a long time doing this. This is the reason you could spend a year or two making sure that program's perfect. And you may not ever get it like they want it.
Right.
But you'll get it where that person's gonna get fully trained at the end. And you'll keep working and adjusting, and you'll be surprised how long it
But it
That's
may
what I
not
s-
be that complicated. But go ahead,
With
Josh.
all I was saying was with the workforce investment boards, they're already doing all this when a company goes through their on-the-job training for apprenticeship or
Mhm.
whatever. I mean, through apprenticeship even, they're already doing that currently now. And basically, they're already doing
They're
this.
writing the contract.
They're writing the contract, they're writing all the they do the assessment, and then basically our piece would just be a piece off, like one little piece strand. So the major part of this program, traditionally, and the way the infrastructure is set into place, would run through the Workforce Investment Board, where we then team up with them to then provide that in-class portion, which is one of the smaller pieces to
Well, see,
this.
it's
And
kinda
that's
get
why
the-
he's telling you to do that job analysis.
Which
Right.
which they do already, right?
Right.
Which they already do at the
And
Workforce
I've done it
Investment
many
Board.
times over on that side.
But-
I've
But
been
so,
on that side.
can I
That's
just
what I'm
ask my
saying.
question?
Yeah, I understand.
Currently, when you sign up for apprenticeships, are you engaging the workforce boards to do any kind of OJT? See, that's what I'm saying, Josh.
But
While they
they're-
have their own OJT programs, they're not doing this
I
for
know,
But
that's
apprenticeship.
what you
but-
misunderstand.
But when, all right, let's say on the OJT side of this, okay, I've got a rough outline.
Mhm,
If I wanna get that rough outline, I go to ONET.
mhm.
All right, WIOA, they'll go in there and do a detail on that. And they'll have more information on it than I've got, and they'll write their contract with that employer based on these are the things you need to do in OJT.
Right.
All right, if I take that OJT, I can take and put that right over this, and it's the same thing, it'll work fine.
Right.
And they can get paid for it, but the classroom training is a whole different thing,
Mhm.
you know, but it has to relate back to OJT. And the OJT, you take what they're already doing, and you get the thing signed, and then you go in there and start grinding on it and polishing, and you find the gaps, and you try to fill
Right.
those. And that's where the community colleges has the expertise.
Right.
They can write these curriculums, the classroom training, they may be able to rewrite one that doesn't work at all and have a great, I know some that aren't worth spit.
And that's a value of the community college too, because you already have
Yeah.
those curriculum frameworks that you can draw upon to help go back to the companies and say,
So for the
is this what
infrastructure.
you wanna have, the RTI? But, so right now, when, in most of the companies that you are working with around apprenticeship, and they're, the OJT component, are they signing up with a Workforce Investment Act?
No, but that doesn't mean they can't.
They can't, we want them to.
They
We
are.
want them to.
We want them
Oh,
to.
they are.
It's called the eligible training provider.
Yes. the
That's
eligible
not on
training-
OJT though,
That's
that's
not
just
OJT,
classroom
that's-
training.
that's for
But
ITA.
it still eligible training provider list flows through
The
the
Workforce
Workforce Investment Board.
I understand that, but
But
what.
let's not muddy it up with
that-
all this.
Okay, let me back up.
I'm just saying the infrastructure.
right, I'm trying to just let me back up. So when a company becomes an
You're right.
RA sponsor, automatically they get on the eligible training providers
They
list,
have,
according
they
to
have
the.
to apply.
They sign up the paperwork, but according to your DOL webinar, they're
Yeah.
supposed to automatically go on
Yeah,
that list.
yeah.
And then whoever, if they have any eligible applicants under WIOA, they automatically can get ITAs for the
Not
apprenticeship.
automatic. They have to
If they're
apply
eligible.
If they're
Yeah,
eligible.
If they're eligible.
And, and also, like on the OJT, if we have one of these sponsors that sign up, they have to go to the WIOA and get on the list to get OJT money, and get an allotment. The allotment may be 100,000, and they may not use it all in 1 year, they have to give it back, but they have the option there of tying some OJT funds to this too,
Okay,
and that would help them, and a lot of them are not aware how to do that. Well, the community college can show them how to do that.
right.
That's a selling point, I can help them.
Again, more of the paperwork.
And being that this lady that I'm working with, that's one of her other jobs, is
It's a
assisting the
significant
web
amount of
board
money.
over in Alabama, and guess what? That was a real good selling point with that company I met with last week.
So she was working with the workforce
Yeah,
investment.
Yeah,
she already
she was
knew all of the
amazing.
ins and outs about it, and we talked about it.
Mhm.
You know, I talked with Laura Ring the other day about supportive services. She said it's not being offered in the state. I said, why? It's there, and it's very good, it covers classroom trained books and supplies and healthcare, maybe some insurance of some sorts and transportation, childcare, things like that. And she said, well, nobody's approached the board to request that money be set aside for that. So it has to be done at the local workforce board. And so
Mhm.
those local boards need to know that they need to set aside some money for supportive services. Well, that money goes directly, the employer a lot of times is providing a lot of this, and that would be a direct benefit to either the apprentice or the employer to offset some of their tools and
Absolutely.
books. And that's what that's for. Nobody's using it because nobody's asked to use it, and I said, well, all right, let's get after it. Let's go out there and start talking, get all the sponsors and other
Right.
folks out there, and this is where y'all would come in. You would go out and find out more about that. What do we need to do? Let's get this going.
And help the companies connect with
Yes.
the WIOA system so they
Right.
can get on the eligible training providers list.
They're
So their apprentices
automatically
can
on
get the
they're
ITAs,
on the-
so they can get the OJT funds, but that's not happening right now.
So
Right.
basically, all
Yeah.
the funds that
You-
flow,
you're-
the OJT funds flow through the Department of Labor. Department of
course.
Labor to the Mississippi Department of Employment Security, Mississippi Employment Security down to the Workforce Investment Boards, Workforce Investment Boards all the way down to the WIN Job Centers.
Yeah.
That's how all the funds flow.
Right.
So anything that deals with DOL, any type of form that has to be done, that eventually has to get to DOL, any program at all that's DOL is gonna go through MDES and the Workforce Investment Boards.
On the traditional mainline ETA. Now, I can go around some of that. And I had got a call the other day, wanting to know how many people we had on the eligibility training provider list that had applied.
Sure. That's what I'm saying.
And you would think Ingalls Shipbuilding would be on there.
Right.
And all these other union
Right.
companies.
At least
and all
them.
that. Why aren't they on it?
Mhm.
And so I asked, well, tell me why they didn't. And I had given them the list in a meeting of all our employees. Their responsibility was to send them a letter and let them know that they're eligible to be on the, automatically eligible to be on the employer provider list if they apply, no exceptions. They don't have to qualify for anything. All they have to do is just send a letter.
Right.
Some of the workforce boards are not doing, they want them to jump through all these hoops and prove their curriculum and all that. They don't have to do that.
Right, so I think that has to be one of the, and then we can move on.
It's
But
so-
it has to be one of the pieces that we help connect
Yeah.
the dots around
They're
as part
already
of
there,
MAP, to help make sure that all of the sponsors, whether they're community colleges or employers, get connected to the workforce boards, they get on the eligible training providers list, they know how to help their apprentices do the ITAs or at least go through the
They're not
real
gonna get many
eligibility.
ITAs. Most of them are already gonna be working for the companies, and that's not gonna come into play.
Right.
But what will come into play is supportive services, because they don't have the same eligibility requirements on that.
Mhm.
So if you can get some money, it's better to get some than none,
Yeah,
and, so that's the direction I would go on that.
How do we?
The lady
How do
with
we?
the- oh, go ahead, Dee, sorry.
The important thing, because we can talk theory all the time, but how do we sell this to company? When I go and I sit in front of a company and talk about supportive services, I can say I can do X, and you're gonna get this.
Don't make promises first.
Well, not
Don't-
promises,
If they
but,
asked you something that's, you know, it's just better to say, I'm gonna have to work on that.
well, I mean,
Look
what I'm
into it,
saying,
or answer your question later.
what I'm saying though, I'm not, because, I mean, I'm just giving them like the 401 on this, and I'm talking about the benefits.
The benefits are always, is how's it gonna help me make money?
Right.
And the bottom line is this will make the money because they'll
Right.
have more efficient, productive employees, and all the other employees learn from osmosis from the well-trained employees in their business, and you'll see this on the ones that have good apprenticeship program, they flourish.
No, I mean, but,
To answer your question about the ITAs and all of that, the best thing to do is, like this man told me, is stay in your lane. And the best thing you want to do is find out, once again, what their pain is. And if it has something to do where you can help them with ITAs and eligible training lists, what you do is say, well, you know what, let me see if I can talk to whoever at the local workforce development board.
no, I mean, I don't anticipate ITAs or anything ever like that ever coming out.
They'll come up.
But, well, okay, it will, but
Yeah.
because we're saying that this is a potential benefit that businesses can take advantage of, and they're not, and we're trying to figure out how do we connect community colleges, and how the community colleges are essentially providing a service that they would not have otherwise, that they would not know about otherwise,
Oh, okay.
that they would not take advantage of otherwise. How are we sort of positioning ourselves to be sure that we're offering something tangible for them?
First of all, they can't get the ITAs for the 99% of the people that we have in apprenticeship because they're already working for the employer before, and they're not eligible to get in before they go in the apprenticeship program.
Well, not
But there are
ITAs.
those that come in from outside, that are brought in from outside that may, and they have to go to the employment service to be assessed before they go to the employer, before they ever get signed in apprenticeship.
It's a supportive service. It's the same thing as ITA.
No,
I-
It's like
ITA
a, it's like a
is classroom
scholarship,
training.
training scholarship.
It's a sum
and
of
that's-
money they pay for classroom
Not as
training.
many businesses are taking advantage of supportive services.
And there's no money to take in support services. We have to go
There's-
get
okay,
some.
okay,
If the local
okay.
boards have to do this, they have to set aside money out of
Okay.
their allotment to go to supportive services. And that's where we don't have any money, where we probably could
okay.
use the most, we could get the most good out of it.
Okay.
Now, let me just drop back on OJT a second. OJT, and I ran this for a long time, is complicated for the employers to keep the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it sets up their company to be audited by a number of people,
Mhm.
OFCCP, but they not only can audit those records, they can audit their whole accounting record system.
Wow.
They are really, really funny about stuff like this. So,
That's why they don't want it.
you'd be surprised. There's a lot of companies that don't use OJT because they don't want people poking
Right.
around their books.
Right.
I
There's
have
a
the
lot of
potential.
companies that do.
Yeah, there are a lot.
All right, y'all ready? All right, we're gonna go through this here. Responsibility of the apprentice. That is where we talked about 671s. We'll get more into it, but make sure you read over, review that. Everybody all right? Now, we're almost there. This is the definitions for all of the key words in here. You'll have your definitions. This also goes to, you want to get an employer copy. Once again, now right here you would insert, if you're working with me, Josh D., you would put my name, apprenticeship training representative, and my mail and email address. If you're working with Woody, you put Woody's information. Basically, that's the field representative. Also put your name and information there as well, okay? Whoever's working with it. Now, you definitely would, once again, this is pretty self-explanatory, date and time. What I will do, I'm gonna send you another one of these with some extra signature lines because you guys need to have some as well as us. I forgot about that, forgive me. And I need to put something down here that is not on this boilerplate. The work process schedule, all right? First part of this, you would have the occupation code, which I gave y'all the number there. You have the
Right.
occupation code as well as the RAPIDS code. I'm gonna show you how to tell the difference in them. It's on there. This is all self-explanatory. If it's time-based, competency-based, hybrid, whatever you guys decide you want to go with the sponsor, with the employer, in the term of the occupation, you fill all this information out. Now, you remember I was talking, Gloria, about you have to attach the work process. So what I did is I just pulled one up real quick. This one right here, this is a substation and construction mechanic. It's power station guy. You notice you got the ONET code there. You also have the RAPIDS code. Now that ONET code, you can also go, and we talked about this back in December when y'all were at the office. You can go in that ONET code and look at the crosswalk to see exactly, when you're doing your job analysis, to see exactly what they may or may not be missing.
Mhm.
All right. So if you knew by over the phone or in conversation before you went out, you would bring this work process schedule with you. Or if they just told you kind of a description of what the person did.
Is there a template for this, or where is this?
I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay.
This is just one that.
This is
college
just one
up
I
in
had.
Maine,
Yeah.
This, back in 2000 they did, and this is an outline that they did.
I'm gonna send you the entire work process drive.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it in the mail for you. So you
Apprenticeship
can't.
2000.
Yeah, it's too big for me to be trying to email it to you. So anyway, if you look right here, you have different, and this is a pretty good one here. If you look through here, as you're before you go to the actual employer, and you know that this is the occupation that they want, you can start looking through here to see exactly where you can fit in as the program. And if you just look through here, it's got related instruction, electrical theory. That's what AC/DC theory. That's we got tools, mathematics that can go all the way up to calculus, depending on how much. Let me go back up.
Where did that list come from? The related instruction list.
All right, it's developed by a college in
Yeah.
Maine
Yeah.
Okay,
in
so
2000.
so somebody has to actually come up with those topics. It doesn't
Right.
just come.
And you could go back in there and revise that.
Again, I think it's starting with the curriculum frameworks is the easiest thing to do.
You
So
can add
you can-
different courses to that.
If you know exactly, if you pick up the phone and you talk to this person before you get out there, and you know exactly what occupation they're looking for, you can look it up in there and then look up the information. I'm gonna send you the work processes on a matter of fact, see y'all tomorrow. I'll have it for you tomorrow.
A lot of the stuff is real old, and it's 2000. Some of them it even goes back to the early 90s. And it's just a compilation that they put together for these courses, and you'll see them, and they'll have a description at the top, and you look at it. It's not close to accurate.
This
what it
isn't
is.
in there, by the way.
Look up substation.
It's like operator is what's in here.
Look up 0166. Does it go by?
0166. No, can I cross over?
Look
real
under
quick?
electrician. Look under electrician.
Electrician?
Yeah.
I think that one's gonna be.
You got electrician maintenance?
Should say substation.
Yeah, electrician substation is here, yeah.
Yeah, what does it say?
The hours or what are you?
Yeah, what does it say for that?
It's 6,000 hours that you
Okay.
have to have.
And the number?
Time based. And the number is 49-2095.00.
Yeah, see, that's
What's
your
the
ONET
what's the
code.
Rapids code?
Yeah, now what's the 4-digit code next to
Oh,
it?
the Rapids, I'm sorry. That's
0166.
0166.
That's-
Yeah,
So
that's the one I had highlighted, right?
No, that's
Right
maintenance.
up, okay.
So you can go into ONET and find that.
Okay.
See,
You'll be
so-
able to trace it down and find out exactly which one we're talking about.
Okay.
If you don't have one of these, you can make it off of ONET.
Okay.
So-
okay.
Ken, to answer your question about
Right.
college, college programs, you could go in here and look at this information before you even get there, and say, okay, well, I know we can, of course, through, non-credit, we can definitely fulfill that need. However, I know that we have things about, precision tool setup, or
Yeah.
down here and tape measurements. There's electrical theory that I'm sure you have a program for. There's, like I said, mathematics. These
Physics.
electricians, they go all the way up to Calculus 1 nowadays, especially on your people like robotics or industrial position, industrial process automation, one of those type. Depends on what they're looking for. So you can probably look at the work process before you can get there. Now this one here, it says 10,000 hours. That's wrong. If you send this out and the person may say, well, man, that's a lot. We don't need all of that. You can always take something away, put what they want in there. They may have a different name for it.
Mhm.
You know, this is just a starting point. That's all this is.
Okay.
All right. So don't get too tied up in this. Go ahead on and make your draft set of standards. Have them in your bag. Who knows? They may be where, yeah, I like this. Let me sign today. All right. And then I take your word on it. Fix it. And I just want to get my apprenticeship started.
Mhm.
All right. I got some guys I want to hire, and you know,
Yeah.
I want to get them started. All right. So don't get too hung up in this. Just get it out there. I'm gonna type one up tonight and send it to the lady, and hey, she can tell me yeah or nay. No, I want to add this.
It's not fixed in stone.
Okay.
It's something that's adaptable. You can change it at will.
Let me close that. All right. Let me keep
And
going.
because it's
here.
written here, it's not a contract. You can move it, like take and change the whole thing if you want.
All right. This is let me.
We'll modify it at one point and put it like you got it, but we may wait a year or two and get things in there as close as possible. And then we might go back and modify it and put some of those sheets back in and change them out.
All right, this is Appendix B. All this is, Gloria, this is one of the questions you were asking about earlier. This is the actual apprentice registration.
671.
671. Now, with 671, I will tell you the best way to do this is just to have the print one out, give it to the employer, have the prospective or the apprentice fill all the information out, and you take that information and embed it in Rapids.
Here's how that works.
Now, once Rapids, I'm sorry.
In registration, you can get that information and put it on a little card. You don't want to use the social security number. You want to always check the boxes, don't apply. You type that basic information, the name, address, and you know all the rest of it. If you don't know something like 8th grade, 9th grade, high school, if you don't check one of them, it don't matter. You can always go back and uncheck it. Okay, and you go type out the information on there. You have your program registered. You go ahead and press the button, and we register the person. Comes up on my desk, register. You can come back and print that out without having to write it out, and then let them sign it.
No, well, that's what I was saying, Woody, is they can write it out. This will be the easier way for them to capture that information, put it in Rapids, then they can print it out, and then they give it to the
okay,
apprentice.
sorry.
Yeah,
I
and once
misunderstood.
you just want to capture this information as raw data, and then once you get it, you enter the information into Rapids,
Registration.
and then this form will, once you've registered, and what you do is push click the register tab on it, which will, if I get to it in time on Rapids, I'll show you. You register that person, you click registration, then it'll come to either myself or Woody, depending on the program. We'll approve it, and then you can go in and print this out, and you can give it over to the employer, let them sign it, and then you need to keep a copy of the actual.
So he signs it. That's it. We need to go to Rapids 2.0 before we run out of time. They need to see that.
All right.
Okay, so let me just make sure I understand. So we collect this is like an intake form. The apprentice fills it out, and the employer, or you fill in the employer information, you put it in Rapids. Y'all have to, and it goes to y'all have to approve it
Yeah.
before the employer
Yes.
signs.
Now, if you would have been set up as an ATR, you would be doing all the approval.
I see.
Except for some things, like if you had to write a set of standards,
Right.
you would approve it, and then it come to me, and I'd approve it, and then you're done.
Mhm.
Okay, but we not, unfortunately, not be able to do that.
Okay.
So that's what I was hoping. That's the best case.
Yeah.
And we may still be.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're not, but
So far, this is where we
they
are.
want to do it. I think if I let you do it, the problem is there's some other people that
Who
are
also
gonna wanna
wanna
do
do
it that we don't want to do it right now.
Yeah, they are kind of on the fence with that right now.
Yeah, and I think that's what they told me, something like that, but I'm not sure. That might not be the complete reason. I don't know.
Okay, so do the intake, submit it to you, you approve it, and then the employer signs.
Mm-hmm.
It comes up, it shows up in your Rapid as they're enrolled when we click on the OK. And then you go click on the apprentice that we just enrolled, and you go 671 and print it and get them signed. And then you put that in the personnel file. You create an apprentice file inside the personnel file. And all the forms that you're generating, you keep a copy of those in there. You keep those for 5 years. 5 years from the last action. And if they've been completed, you keep a copy of their completion certificate or some of that information, and you can shred everything else after 5 years. You don't have to keep everything. Tests and things like that, you keep for 5 years. So after that,
All right, Woody, while Michael is trying to get logged on, what is the first step? Step one. After we've sat down and identified the companies, Josh and Dee, they've had the initial meeting or two with the company. And the company says, okay, I'm ready to move, I'm ready to sign. What is step one?
You have a
Job
completion,
analysis.
you have a employer acceptance agreement.
If you go all
It's
the way
in
to the
the back
back
here.
of your,
It's in
hold
the
on,
back.
hold on, let me sign in, I'm gonna go all the way to the
I'll show
back
you, it's in the
there.
back here.
All right.
There it is, right there. That's all they gotta do, to get in your program, the employer signs this.
If we are the sponsor.
Whoever's the sponsor, whoever.
Well,
It's gonna
in
be
this
the colleges
case-
in this case.
In this case, you
That's
guys,
it.
appendix E.
And then they're in. And
Okay.
you don't have to do anything other than get this to sign, and then you start registering them in your program.
Yeah, if the college is a sponsor. If not, they have to do all of this first. Cause this assumes that the college has done all of this
They
stage.
would have to have done all of that before they can register this guy. They can't do, they have to have all that signed by us. Before
So
they
they
can
can
do
be a
that.
sponsor before they get an employer.
They have to have that before they can even do anything on this.
Okay,
But once they
fantastic.
do this, they can enter the person into their program along with everybody else. You can't identify them which company they are. You just put them in there, come to my desk, click OK, and they're in.
Okay.
Okay. Your secondary data program will have to keep up with what company, who they belong to. So if you want to pull them up, you can actually pull that company up, see where the clearance is at.
Oops.
So.
If you were doing it the other way, I wanted to do it, you wouldn't have to do that.
All right, so then the first step for the college, who in MAP, in the scenario that we're laying out, first step for the college, which will be functioning as the RA sponsor.
Sign one of these.
Sign one of those first. So that's the first.
And
So
it's
that's,
non-binding. Just remember that it's voluntary. If they decide they don't want to do it, that's all you gotta do. Let me know and we'll cancel them.
now, the college is signing this. This document is, who all is signing that document?
Well, it depends on who they want to. Usually it's just one person in management.
From the employer.
No, from the school.
Okay.
And you,
Okay, so.
or probably ATR and then me. If it's me, then I gotta send it off to Garfield to be signed. So that's the only signatures you need to have it put in place. You have a affirmative action selection procedure, but we don't have time to go into that. That's a different animal. So we wanna go to 10.0.
Can we take a brief break?
Yes.
Sure.
A
Yes.
bio-break
I was
break?
wondering when y'all gonna need one.
I need one.
Yeah, this getting old. Isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's just, the legs are much.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay, hang. Okay, hang.
She asked for a break. It's surprising.
All right, so.
You keep writing. I'm gonna keep talking.
Yeah, so step one is to do the standard, and this is the college, whoever's gonna be.
And are you? And are, I would do,
And
I
or
would
us.
do one just for backup.
Okay,
What if you get one of those colleges and they sign a guy and say, we don't want to do this guy. And you already talked to him, what are you gonna do with him?
so the college, all right, I understand what you're saying, but now, I'm thinking about our process. Our process is, we've given a grant to this college. This
But they're
college
not-
can't
they're
say.
not- They don't have to do it.
Well, the college has to function as working along with D to help recruit businesses. So it's like the way that I envision it, like right now, Josh and Dee are independently going out making connections and getting people to the table. But we're not quite ready for this. We hadn't gotten to this point.
Well, it doesn't take a lot of manpower to register these people.
Do you know how to do that right now, Dee?
With the entire process, with the standards builder.
No, we're not
sort of
gonna be using the standard bill. This is our
No.
commission right now.
This
Right,
this
that's
is
what
why
I'm
you
saying.
guys got
We
We,
don't-
the.
we would do this manually, and
Yeah.
what you'll do is
Uh-huh.
contact me, and
Right.
I'll help you write this.
Right, so I mean.
You tell me
and
the
I'm
business
glad that you're
name.
asking this question
I
because,
will generate, or Mike will generate this for you until you learn how to do it.
right,
And we will generate the whole thing for you, and you just go
Okay.
out and get it signed. We'll put it in place and get you a signed copy back as soon as possible.
right,
And take it back to the employer. We'll actually go with you to the employer
right,
and walk you through whatever it is that you need to do.
right.
If back to this thing, I've seen various things. I'm just saying, for me, as a safety net, you might get them in here and then want to transfer them to another school that's willing to work with.
Okay.
Just because they're in one location,
But
don't
it-
mean
but
they can't
if-
work
if-
somewhere else.
If our agency can we be an intermediary?
You
The
are an
board-
intermediate.
Well, I guess because we're a grantee.
That's right.
Alright, so I get what you're saying. We might, as a fallback, we might wanna do one too. The thing there though is,
You don't have to keep them. You can transfer them to another willing school just to keep the paperwork process down somewhere else.
okay, but once we sign those standards, we'll have a year to register at least one apprentice, right?
Well, no, you won't have. You'll be running out of time then. So you want to get 100 apprentices. So our
Right,
goal
but I'm
is-
just sticking,
yeah,
I'm sticking with your, I'm
Right,
going
right,
with
right.
your
That's correct.
example, your
That's
example.
exactly right.
Right, stay with me on that one, so we
In
would
2
technically
years
have a
on,
year.
on affirmative action.
But the plan is that the 5 colleges would have gotten our numbers. You're just saying, you're recommending that the board do one as well, just in case one of the colleges is underperforming or whatever. That's what you're saying.
It's possible.
Right. Alright, so my whole point is then, right now, D needs to have more training. He needs to know fully what he needs to do with this process here.
That will take me and you about 15 minutes to set up one.
Alright?
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
the paperwork is just exactly like that. There's no difference in anything.
Literally, so we have a company.
And actually block it.
Well, this is when you go to IP, you're gonna get a chance to look at that. They've got a set of standards, and it's not working.
Now, so I need to know, like, right now, when a company says, we want apprenticeship, what's the next step?
So sign a set of standards, and this is the standards. You
So,
take a
but-
copy with you.
But they just say they want apprenticeship, but they don't know exactly what they want it in yet. Like, if
They're not ready. They're not ready.
Yeah,
They're not
so-
gonna sign anything.
right, and so can I contact you and say, Woody, this X is interested in apprenticeship? They're trying to sort of understand what they would,
Occupation.
which occupation they would like to have their apprenticeship in.
Okay, when you're in your discussions
Mhm.
with them, you're gonna find that in your exploring,
Excuse me.
in your exploration discussion,
Right,
you're gonna find out what occupations they need assistance with.
right,
And you're gonna pick out the one they need the most help with.
right,
Okay,
and
we're gonna put that one in there,
mm-hmm,
and then we'll come back and load the rest of them in there later. We're gonna get them cranked up with one, and
that's
then we'll
right,
come back and add more
Okay.
later.
okay,
Okay,
That's
so
it,
like
okay.
if it's maintenance mechanic or
Mhm.
industrial maintenance or maintenance electrician.
right,
So, I can't find, I looked in the community, I can't find anybody to get my plant wired up, I have machines broken down. So what you would do is say, well, look, we could put a maintenance mechanic in, or, which fixes the machinery, or we
Right.
could put a maintenance electrician in, or we can do the industrial maintenance. What do you think would be the best to help
right.
you?
And so I could theoretically take this list with me and say,
Occupational
here are
list.
some occupations that we specifically work with, we can
Right.
work with you with.
There's only 40 of them that really use on a regular basis,
Mhm.
and we'll eventually get you a copy of that.
Yeah.
But they're all the ones we've been talking, tool and die, machinist, maintenance electrician, maintenance mechanic, industrial maintenance,
Right.
and all the construction trades.
Right,
And these companies actually use all that, even though they're manufacturing.
right.
They have staffs that do maintenance, and depends on how big they are, but they do a lot of maintenance work,
Right.
and they will need some. And what you want to do is take what they've got
Mhm.
and put it in their apprenticeship program, and then add some things in. Over time, take some things out, add new things in, and
Right.
keep working with them till you get it like they want it, where it's working for them. There's obviously, they're coming to you or you're working with them. It may be working really well, and they're getting some trained people, but if you look at it, they may be only 50% trained in that occupation.
Okay.
If
So,
they got 75% training, they might be more efficient for that company.
You guys gotta work on getting buy-in, man.
So, okay, going back to, do you have some more questions?
identify occupation and then, okay, I'm gonna go to Woody and we'll
Explore.
get
You want to
we'll
explore
get the-
what
we'll
the
get it
needs
all.
are. Remember, it's needs. What
Mhm.
we're looking for is what does that employer need? He may not need anything we have. That's fine.
But in our case, they're coming to the table. That kind of sounds like we're soliciting,
You are.
but through this initiative though, we have already identified the sector, which is advanced manufacturing and automotive. And so then when we subgrant to the colleges, part of the college's role is within their service district, which could be one county or multiple counties. They are to help us in the MAP process advertise that RA is here for advanced manufacturing and automotive. So then, once that's out there, in the way that this should work through our grant is that the companies are approaching the colleges. To a certain extent, the college may know of companies
I
out
would
there that
think
want
would
to do
be
this.
the case.
Right, they
If
may
do
know.
good.
But then if they don't, if the word has gotten out, then in theory, the company should be approaching the
They will
college
eventually,
to
yeah.
say that, yeah, we want an apprenticeship program to help our workforce development needs. As opposed to this discussion right now sounds like the other way around, like we're
No, it's
soliciting.
not. No, and it is two different things. What we do is we go out and market to the public. What you're doing is you're marketed to an internal audience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the Community College Workforce Development District and their employees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they already have a good number of employers they know that this would fit with.
Right.
And what they're gonna be doing is selling their skills and the things that they do the very best to their companies and saying, we have, not only the tools we work with now, but we have an additional tool, apprenticeship. We think this would work really well for you, and we want you to take a look at it.
All right,
And
so then-
that's selling, but you're offering them a new tool.
So then there is a small discussion about theory in terms of what apprenticeship, the pros and cons can do. It should be short-lived because for us, you're moving immediately into, okay, what do I have to do to get started?
Right.
And so that's what we're trying to get to right now is that first step
Yeah, and you
within that field.
already know.
What is it that D, you're gonna be at the table,
Right.
right?
Right.
But because of through the sub-granting process, it's the college and the employer. The employer is leading the discussion.
That's right.
The college is at the table to say, well, how can I help serve
There you
you in
go.
this process?
There you
And
go.
you're at the table to say, yep, that's right, and making sure that the college is not forgetting anything or adding whatever else that we can add from
Okay.
this level
Okay.
to that discussion.
And that's why when we went out to meet with the businesses this week and last week, I included Heinz Community College to sit at the table with us to start that partnership. But the other thing
Are
is
they
we,
involved in all of this?
we're not in that, we can't say that yet because we don't know who's gonna apply. I
Right.
just wanted to, so if this is the path we're gonna go down, we need to start setting that pattern, that habit of if we are meeting with a business, we need to include our.
Do you see what I'm
include our
saying?
But I wanna say one other thing, oh, sorry, Keith, you.
No, your point, Josh, excellent. That's the right thing to do.
What?
But what I was trying to say to this whole discussion today is, let's keep the focus on the fact that the college has to be at the table. You guys,
It's their
y'all
program.
are training us and y'all are teaching us, but you're teaching us from
Our point of view.
your point of view,
But
which is the
D
college
is
not
not gonna be
involved.
sitting there selling this.
Well, but D
might
will
there,
be at
but
the
he's
table.
not gonna- No, he shouldn't be saying anything.
Well, he may not have a whole lot to say,
He's
but
technical
he's there
assistance.
representing MAP.
He is somebody that
he's-
can say, this is how we set it up. The colleges should say to their businesses, we have a new tool and this is, and they should be able to spill everything out. This is the classroom training, this is the OJT, this is how the program works. He shouldn't be saying.
He's
this
right,
or
I agree.
anything.
He's not gonna say a whole lot, but he's there to guide the.
I think it's gonna be a
He's like a
partnership.
facilitator. He's like a facilitator, more or less.
Yeah, he's providing technical assistance. as
Right.
needed.
Yes.
The employer is gonna be the main presenter. The college is gonna be responding. And so, yeah, D will be at the table with it because he's gonna represent MAP. But
Can I say something else? I'm sorry, if I may. I don't know how much the employer is driving if they don't know anything about this.
Well,
I mean, part of
that's
this
true.
is D is there helping to inform, and I think the community colleges need to be there as well.
Right.
But it's a partnership
it's
between
the
the
three
two.
legs too, right?
You're right, and so part of, and then what if we're in a district where there isn't no community college partner? You know, they didn't apply or.
Well, that's the reason you
So
have
that's
to
why
have
we
the
have to
backup.
have D, playing
You'll
more than
have a
just to
bunch
kind of
of
sit
those.
there and wait for somebody to ask you a question kind of role.
But I
You
just
have
wanna say
some
we
in-
do,
in like Northwest, there's all the industry moving in up there and.
So that's when
and
you would.
Lieutenant Colonel Barry told me that he has already identified 20 companies up there.
So that's when your
Carl.
example
Where,
becomes
really?
practical for us with it. What you're saying, have the board as a fallback. That's when, because if Josh and Dee made the contact and we got companies out there that says, I wanna do this, but
You could
for
send
whatever
them to
reason,
me.
one of the 5 colleges that were selected is not in that district, then yeah, somebody has to pick that
Remember
up.
what I told you,
Pentagon and that.
you have to service these. The whole thing about apprenticeship is service. If you're not providing quality service to keep them rooted and moving forward with their apprenticeship and involvement in their apprenticeship program, it's gonna lose momentum and they're gonna die. They'll be down on the vine. So if it's in Northwest up there, it's not likely that I'm gonna get up there very often. I don't have the time. It's a long drive. If I went up there, I might only see one or two companies. But if you had somebody up there that knew the same thing Dee knows and the things you know right now, and say, I don't know it all, but man, I know enough. So I'll sit down and tell you what I know. And they're already interested. So you sit down with these 20 companies, you got one or two of them at a time, or maybe one at a time. It's gonna take you 6 or 8 weeks of work to get them all to a point where they're ready to sign. You have to educate them.
So that's what the college is
So-
gonna do.
And that's,
I would like
that's
to-
why, if they're not up there, if Northwest is not part of it, and these companies want apprenticeship, you have two choices. You can write them under yours, or you can send them to me. If you send them to me, they're gonna die on the vine, cause I can't get up there and service them.
So what I wanna do is do a practical, like, real visit where we've already established a company that has they're a German company that I was just talking about earlier in Vicksburg. We included Heinz Community College to go out on the visit with us to make sure we are including our partners.
Who was the person?
David Krill, who's the head of their, all their manufacturing training. And they have not a registered apprenticeship program, but their own internal apprenticeship program, but they're interested in looking at the registered apprenticeship
What you
program.
do is just take their
So,
apprenticeship program and put it over onto the register and just go ahead and register.
so what we
and
need
work with
is,
it.
we need someone to go out from your team, whether you or Michael,
I can do it.
with us, because they have said, we want to move forward with this, and we got to the point where we couldn't just say, they said, we wanna go. We couldn't just say, oh, well, give us 6 months.
But-
They wanted, so I said we would call our DOL representative, and we would bring our DOL representative out to meet with you.
Anytime you wanna go,
And
just let me know.
so we need to line up that meeting, and that will show us then,
So,
from this point
he-
on,
Here's what I suggest y'all
how you
do.
do this.
I don't mean to interfere in your business in any way, and you don't have to tell me this. I make a lot of calls, and I get a lot of calls, and I'm aware of some German companies that want to do business. Is it a position that you can tell me who it is to know if we've already contacted us?
It's Tantec.
Is that the leather
Leather.
tan? Okay, now that's the one that,
That's in y'all's
Colonel
list.
Barry's been in touch with,
Yeah,
and said
I've-
they're ready to sign.
Yeah, well, because I've introduced the
Okay,
Colonel
that's
Barry
it, okay.
before even all of this. This was years
Yeah.
ago.
Uh-huh.
I took Lieutenant Colonel Barry out to meet with them because they were looking at hiring veterans.
Right.
So Lieutenant Colonel Barry I've worked with for several years, and I worked with Clay Wall, Captain
Mhm.
Wall
I know he is.
before him, because I did a lot of work with trying to help create an accelerated pipeline for veterans into manufacturing.
They can still get enrolled in this program, and the veterans will get the same. benefit.
And Lieutenant Colonel Barry is on camera saying that he is supporting MAP's efforts. You
Mhm.
know, when he was down in Ingalls, he did a video that says that the
he's-
National Guard is out there supporting MAP's efforts to reach out to businesses to get people hired into apprenticeship programs.
Yeah, and he is, that's what he said.
Yeah.
And-
So he's one of our partners.
All right, you ready to go?
All right,
So,
moving forward, I think the first thing you guys should do between now and Monday is go ahead and register yourselves. All right, go ahead and sign your standards for Mississippi Community College. And then what'll happen is, once the standards are done, Woody or myself, whoever will sign them, and the next thing we'll do, we'll register you in a program, as a program. And what'll happen, Gloria, is you'll get some funky looking number from the Department of Labor that says, this is your password. If it's your email address or whoever that first initial contact that'll be, the email will be your username. All right, and then you'll get some long number, only the government does this, but it'll give some long number password, and you have like 24 hours to use that number, or you'll have to start over. So once you go in, it'll direct you over to your profile, and you can change that password at that time. If you have a problem with it, before you start, just give one of us a call and we can walk you through it. So what'll happen is then all of a sudden you'll have a Rapids 2.0 account, and it'll look similar to this. This is the training platform, so everybody's been in here. So we'll just take the first one, XYZ Greg Corporation, and he's put in these fictitious apprentices, which we'll play around with in just a second. But in here we have apprentices, related actions, and reports. So let's just register
Can you
apprentice
do
real
something
quick.
with the lights, cause,
Okay,
Slow.
sorry.
There's a
no,
switch.
not you. Is
Dee,
it there right
there's
there,
a
Dee?
switch right there. Do you mind hitting
Yeah.
that, see if that works?
Might help.
There
Yeah,
you go.
that's
better?
better.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's just register an apprentice real quick. This thing on. And what we will do here today is what, the 12th?
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll make their registration date today. And let's see here. We're gonna put Ken in here.
Yeah, I think that guy needs to go into some kind of apprenticeship. I don't know.
All right. Now look, you don't have to put
L-E-Y.
I would, oh, it's L-E-Y, I'm sorry.
Can't
You,
have it.
you don't put social security numbers in there. There's no need
Let's
to.
make backup dates.
Okay. And then date of birth, let's say Ken,
August
Well,
10th.
the 12,
You
11,
might not want to reveal
we'll
that.
make it
12, 11, 1982.
August the 10th, 2000. I wish.
10, and we'll say, I'll
Just
give
the
you my
over-
year,
over
1962. All right, I'll give you my year. Male, you would be a new, hey, let's make you an existing employee, okay? And then all of your information, your address, we'll say
3825
3825.
Ridgewood Road.
Feel like I live here.
We know how you feel. Ours is in downtown. Close that place up later a lot of times.
Jackson, and it is. If you're a fan of TurboTax, you'll like this thing because that's basically what it is almost.
That's the platform.
Yeah.
39211.
And if you got a phone number and email address for the person, you can do that. And then you can go to next. All right, now here we go. Demographics. The person does not have to put anything on that 671. But if they did in this case, it'd be non-Hispanic. Okay, and then you go over to the race, Black or African American, veteran, Ken's a veteran, in education, we will say post-secondary and technical training. Now, career linkage or your career connection. These are things like, in this case, it would be none, but let's say he went through a pre-apprenticeship program, or they were a Job Corps, or they were a graduate from Mississippi Community College. You would put that stuff in there. Are they veterans? We're going to make Ken a veteran. Did he come from a youth build? No. All the stuff that you see in those standards. And then we will go next. Now, I want to remind you of something.
Career Center referral, is that a Win Job Center?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. I want to remind you of something. Is it going to let me go in? See, I can do it. When you're, we'll probably have to jump over to mine. When you're in a program and you decide that you need to stop for a minute, always push save progress. All right, and then it's saved. You can go to next. Won't let me. That's as far as this test data will let me go.
No, it lets you go. Go
Okay.
down a little bit more. You see that red? Go back up. It's some red.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, a value is required.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, right here, disability. No, there's
Okay.
no disability.
It should let you go now.
Yeah. Good catch.
Good.
Good catch. All right, now the next thing is the occupation. Ken's electrician. Related instruction. We're gonna say now if it's gonna have a drop down, but for the first time you use it, you may not be, Mississippi Community College may not be listed in there. So you would have to type it in, and I believe it'll say that you wanna add this for future reference or something like that.
And you would,
So-
want to add that.
So we'll just leave it at Porter and Chester Institute, Bradford. All right, now the total length is 144 hours. Hours of instruction will be provided. This will be a drop down. Is it going to be during work hours or none? The term of the length is 6,000 hours in this case. Now, there's different electricians, so you have to look in there to see exactly what, excuse me, what occupation codes you have.
Right.
All right, and you'll list that in the details.
Real quick before you go on, it says total length of instruction is 144 for the entire thing, because that's 3 years.
It's per year.
But that,
Right here?
but you see the term length is
6,000.
6,000.
Oh, I see what you're saying,
Yeah, this one here, that's going to be per year.
Okay.
It's always per year, and the term length of the
Go
entire.
back- Go back and see it on that block and see if that, let me look at that. So we'll let you go back one,
What are you talking about?
Where the-
Demographics or
where the hours of instruction are.
that this one here is hard in there. We can go to my real one.
On the ones that I do, that it has 144 times the number of years. That's the
Okay.
count.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
in
this-
this case, it'll be
that's
144 times 3.
3.
All right. This is something they just put
Simple.
together for people to play with.
Okay. Okay.
All right. No harm, no foul. If I go on my
Yeah.
real one,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
plus I got real people and I shouldn't be showing everybody. The term length is 6,000 hours in this case. The probationary period, you notice they put 25%. If you wanted to put, let's say we wanted to give Ken some previous credit. Let's say we want to give him 500.
I
Okay,
think he's worth 1,000 credits like this.
and then
Can you change the light bulb?
we're not going to give him anything for RTI because, you know, he didn't pass the test, but we like him anyway.
Okay.
All right. Then we go next. Now, most people, they're not going to put on that 671 sheet their prior wage. It's not going to do it. All right. So you can leave at 0.
Always leave it 0. It's just
And-
better to leave it than gone.
Now,
Okay.
the entry wage,
First period of the apprenticeship.
whatever y'all determine with these, I'm about to say sponsor, with the employer,
Mhm.
what's that gonna be? So electrician, let's say this is a company that makes, you know, they pay the journeyman $20 an hour. Well, he's got 30 right here, so we'll just do 30. So let's say we're gonna do 50% of that, be $15 an hour.
So while these at the table, we're really not saying a whole lot, because again, it's the employer and the college talking, mostly the employer. But you would chime in to say it just has to be at least minimum wage, right? That's what the regs say. It has to be,
Yeah,
can't be
but
below minimum wage.
no.
On this
no.
particular kind of program, you have a minimum and a maximum.
Yeah.
All of the wages for each period have to be above the minimum, because you have so many employers involved and they all have different wage levels.
Right.
So you want to capture them all and not get caught with one, so you always use the lowest you can get away with.
Yeah.
And so on each time frame, you know, like you have $7.25 for the first one, and maybe the next one you got $9 or whatever, maybe $8.
Okay.
And then the third one you may have $8.50. So all of those employees there, even though they're making different kinds of wages, different levels of wages,
Right.
they will be above those amounts.
Right.
So it can never be below one of those amounts, but it can be above.
Okay.
So I clicked the one that was the starting wage, 50% of the journeyman wage. Remember, the journeyman wage is $30 an hour.
Right.
Now, if your journeyman wage is $7.50 an hour, what do you have in the apprentice program? But you know what I'm
You
saying?
can't have it.
But if the journeyman wage or 50% of that is below minimum wage, you got to at least start them at minimum wage.
So right.
So-
So that's
So in this
You know,
case,
that's the only thing that we talking about more or less in this part of the discussion.
Right.
so in this case, I just went on click the one that says 15 starting at 15, and then if they, and it's not allowing me to do this, but right here, if they have, it's 6,000 hours, so they're gonna do 50%, you know, at 3,000 hours, and then at the end they're gonna be at 30,000 an hour.
Right.
But if you had another program, let me see if I can find it. We'll just keep going, all right? But if there was another, okay, let me go back one. I didn't mean to do that. Previous.
Is it typically equal increments?
Yes, and what'll happen is this thing here, Gloria, it'll break it down. It's got a
See, the 6,000, let's say $1,000 would be 6 pay periods,
Right.
every 6 months. And so you'd have a wage amount or percentage underneath that.
yeah,
So if it's the second period, it might be 55%, or the
Right.
third, it'd be 60.
and,
And then your journeyman wage may change, but you just do the percentage and you can figure it out, and that's how you get the entry level. But if you were on our particular programs, it's not going to be the same because we're doing an employer acceptance agreements. So we have to have the minimum per pay period to capture, make sure we capture that those people are not below the wage for that pay period. They may be, indeed, might be $15, but if we have 8, we know they're above that.
And the apprentice, they do not get that wage increase if they're not performing.
They don't
And in
pass.
which case, if they're not performing, chances are they're not gonna, the employer's not gonna, they're gonna fail the probationary period.
well, look, not,
Because I wanna
necessarily.
make sure that
not,
we-
not
that we're-
necessarily. If they have not passed their related instructions, say a test that they have to have, you know, for that to prove that portion, and they didn't pass the test, or they're just not up to par on OJT, they have to repeat that process until they pass it before they can get that merit
Right,
increase.
I just wanted to establish the fact that you're not locked into every 6 months, the employer, because again, for
Mhm.
our team discussing this with the college, right, because y'all realize that all of this, we're gonna have to repeat
Yeah.
to
Yes.
the colleges. We're learning it, right, the colleges don't know this.
What do you
So
mean
we
have
gotta
to
do-
go back and repeat to the college?
We gotta, this discussion that we're having here today, and we're gonna have to restructure it a little differently. But once we've identified the colleges who are gonna be the MAP sub-grantees, we're gonna have to repeat this because we're not able to do it ourselves,
Mhm.
right? So at some point, we're gonna have to sit down with you all and it's clear to me, we're gonna have to set aside a whole day to
Well,
do this.
Yeah, there's steps to go through. We've been bouncing around a little bit, but the wages now, if they want to move up, they have to pass that 6-month period on classroom training and OJT. And the committee usually decides that if they have one, or the employer, and they usually give them a certain amount of time to make that up, like 120 days.
Okay,
After that, then they're thrown probation. The employer says, "Well, you're done."
right, so see, all this stuff, like, we don't know that right now. Now we do. And once we identify the 5 colleges, whoever that person is going to be their full-time or whatever, that person has to know that.
What
Because
you're
that
gonna have
discussion
to
is with
do,
companies.
you guys are gonna have to go ahead on and start trying to get your hands wet with this, like you said. Get your hands dirty with this, roll up your sleeves, and then you're gonna have to train a representative of each one of those colleges to, when they're going out to do, if you wanna tell them to go out and do initial contacts. You know, but it sounded like to me, either Dee or Josh will always be with a community college member.
I think
Correct.
Initially,
Okay,
in theory,
but-
I would think that that's the way it would work.
Right.
In theory, and of course, all of this is up in the air
How
because we
long
don't
did
know
it
from
take you to
DOL whether or not
learn
we're
all
gonna
this?
get continuation.
Well,
It-
I will tell you, it took me about, well, to feel comfortable. Let me say this here. I did my first.
When
I
did
did,
you know?
well, when I started with Woody, I went on my first visit within 3 months of my working. I went to the Wave.
Mhm.
Probably messed it up, but I was there.
No.
But
Don't ever say that.
within my first 90 days, Woody and as well as the state director in Alabama had me out in the field making contact.
By himself.
All right, so
And he signed up a program.
you know, you
So
guys.
then, more training, we would have to require the colleges, whoever the representatives are from the colleges, they would have to come along on a couple of these visits. It's gonna be mandatory training, and then I would recommend that they attend visits. It would be a team then,
Right.
the MAP team, you and Josh, and then whoever the college has designated as their point person.
One of the things I would recommend that you do is you practice with some people first.
Yeah.
Because you don't wanna go out and get your best employers and go in there and give them a terrible presentation and give them a bad taste. Because then you have to undo the damage. So if you can use some employees for yours that if you lost wouldn't kill you, you know, that are marginal, none of them are marginal, but you know, just, you don't wanna use your best employees like the leather people, you know, you wanna kinda learn this. So when I told you about the IP, you know, what I would do, you know, I'll help you if you want me to, but they haven't called me back, so they might not want to go to it. Their program is not working. And what your assignment is to go make it work. If you go make it work, you're gonna find out what all the pieces and parts of this are, because you'll have to sort through it. You'll have to find out what's not working and why. And when you do that, this will all come clear to you. You won't realize until you get there how much of this you already know.
There's no doubt in my mind that D can do that. What we're trying to do here today is to figure out the first step, so, because he has been asking and thirsting for this information. What is it that I'm supposed to do? He can do it, but we gotta tell him.
If this is something you can do, you already have enough knowledge to do it. When you take the set of standards, I don't even know where the standards are. The previous state director had them, I never could find them. I don't even know if I have those in my computer. And what we would probably want to do is sign a new set of standards with them.
Well, it's required to anyway.
And they've been out of date for a long time, but they're not functioning at all. And what first thing we want to know is why they're not functioning. They don't have any apprentices. They're not returning any of my calls. Somehow they've got the idea that they don't need apprenticeship. And so if they don't need apprenticeship, we'll have to close the programs down. But it's a good way to find out.
I think your first step. I think your first step is to go ahead on and register yourself and go make a contact. And
Are there any other community college systems that are sponsors that you know of?
There probably are, but they're not like you
No,
guys.
none
They're
around
not set
What's
up
that?
at all like
Do I just, when I try to find that website, what is the website?
oh, this right here is gonna when you guys get registered, it's gonna automatically send it to you.
Oh,
Because the one I would send you right now is mine.
No, you know, but what website do I go to to even register?
Okay,
I'm a register.
Oh, you
Once
are.
you guys sign this,
that's
I'll
great.
go in the rapids.
Yeah, he gave us some
Oh.
And
okay.
do every. Basically, what I'm doing now, I would be registering the program for you guys,
Oh,
and
okay.
then you'll get. Then I matter of fact, now as a matter of fact, I'm the one that'll send you the password.
Okay.
Go ahead and finish this guy up and then show
All
him
right.
how to register a program.
And
That's
then
gonna help.
next,
Don't
we
go
already.
too much detail, just move
All right.
on pretty quick there.
All right, so you see, you got all your information in there, right?
Mhm.
And then after that, you just save and complete.
Okay.
Okay.
Straightforward, yeah.
The register program.
And then see that number right there? Now this happened to be in Connecticut. CT, yours would be MS,
Yeah.
and if it's like here in a couple of days, hopefully 2017 4000. All right. So now, let me see if I can register a program on this thing. All right.
So you just registered an apprentice?
Yeah.
Right, but the board, we're not registering an apprentice, we're registering a program.
Well, no, technically you would be doing an employee. Once you get your profile, then if I'm not mistaken, there's a portion in there to add employers up under, because you guys are gonna be considered a
Well, we
group
need to
non-joint,
take
right?
a look over there and see
We're not
if
an
we.
H.
So I don't know that there's that function where they can actually list the employers under there unless they add something new to it.
All right, so
Register as a sponsor. Then we
all right,
register
here's a
employees
standard
under
builder
us
example right here.
and apprentices.
and see what this one. Once again, it's the trainer one. Okay, so in this one right here, what you would do is check if your program is a national program, which it's not. You would put all of your information. This, for some reason, this thing locked me out of it. Put all your information in.
EIN number is their tax ID.
Yeah, your tax. Yeah, the tax ID number. That's the EIN number. You gotta have that. And any affiliations that they would have. Now, here's where, and I suggest whenever I would suggest, Woody, that y'all go ahead on, whether you're gonna use it or not, do the affirmative action plan and click it there. Even if you don't have but 2 apprentices, you got it in case they grow.
Yeah, we're gonna put it
All right.
in there, but it will have to explain all that a little later. It's not
All
something
right.
we'll get.
And then this NAICS number,
NASAC.
NASAC
Yes.
number, that is, I'm gonna have to get you the website for that.
There's a
Oh, you know
crosswalk.
what? This thing here,
Crosswalk.
it'll if I remember right, it'll drop
Populate.
down and give it to you.
Okay.
It'll automatically give it to you, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a crosswalk
Yeah.
between our occupations.
Yeah.
and
In the
tax
old
code.
system, you got to go look it up and then go back and put it in. But this one here, it just drops down. And I'm gonna go to mine here in a minute. And then you notice down here, occupation and title. I think on this one right here, occupation. Occupation. Then you can upload your work processes. The sheet I showed y'all earlier. All right, you can upload your work processes there once you've completed them.
Let's go to Chain Electric that we just enrolled in your.
All right,
in
let me
your
get out of this then.
We're gonna go to Chain tomorrow, right?
Yes.
And they're a good company.
So when we get ready to do this, to train the colleges that we've selected as our sub-grantees, is it possible, like if we went on site, well, we have enough laptops here too, but let's just say we went on site to one of the colleges that was selected and they have a computer lab where we could get everybody to sit down and go through this. You could facilitate the class or the training as an instructor, and we actually have them go through these steps as opposed to like sitting here watching you do it.
Well, what I would like to
Can
do.
we get enough access to do that?
What I would like to do is when we get to some point where you want everybody trained, then I want to bring in Charles Ron from South Carolina, come in and do some training. Mike will do some, I'll try to do some, I'm not the best at it, but between the 3 of us, and we might be able to get somebody to come in from Georgia.
And how long would that take? How long would the training take?
We're looking maybe like a day and a half or 2 days. We'll probably just like a part of a morning, an afternoon, and the next day leave at 12. It depends on how long you want. We don't want to get too complicated with it, you know, because
Right, well, in all likelihood, we're talking about sometime probably in the month of May,
Early
June at the absolute latest, but probably May, because we're trying to get the RFP out so that we can identify who the colleges that are gonna do this, and then once we've done that.
what we want to do is get these 2 guys up to the level where they can
Right,
pretty
y'all
much do
doing
the
that
training.
now, y'all doing that now.
I think
that over that period of time, they should be sufficiently trained to be able to cover most of the material, because it's not that complicated. It's a very straightforward program. There's just not, there's some regulations, but the colleges don't need to know all that. They're just gonna sign the employer acceptance agreement, and y'all are gonna have, the colleges are gonna have their sponsor agreement, and that's where your explanations of them will take place. The explanations to the employer, the discussions with the employer don't have them signing any standards. They're just signing the employer acceptance agreement, and they're gonna agree to follow your standards. You can give them a copy and they agree. They don't have to do a whole lot of anything. You're gonna work with their occupation, because it's gonna be listed in your set of standards. Everything's gonna be in the standards of that community college, and so the employer doesn't really get involved in writing, setting up anything. They're just gonna tie it into the community college's standard with the employer acceptance agreement. Okay, and
Yes.
so you don't have to present, you have to be able to answer their questions, but you're not gonna be going probably in the same amount of depth as we're going here, because you're just got 5 community colleges that are gonna sign this. They need to know all this, but their employees won't, that they're working with are not gonna be involved in it, really. All that's gonna be done by the community colleges.
Is there a place,
Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying, but somehow I think it's gonna be maybe a little more involved in that, or at least I feel
They're
more
gonna ask
comfortable with
questions
knowing.
and you're gonna have to explain it to them, but they're not gonna have to do anything basically, other than follow those standards, and then you have the college there to help explain what those are.
So, y'all get to watch something real quick. I gotta talk to Greg, man. I need that alarm. I'm finna register an apprentice for you right now. This is a live apprentice. Is that all right?
Yeah.
D just stepped out. I think it would be good for D to see this.
okay, let's wait a minute. So I can ask a question while we're waiting. On the apprenticeship standards, can we add a signature line for MAP? Because one of the things, since
Yeah,
we're
that's
not
what I
gonna
was
be
telling you. I'm gonna
UTR.
send it back to you.
Okay, great.
It's gonna have, you tell me, Gloria, what you want those to be, what do you want them to be,
If you're
I don't know who's
trying,
I don't know who's gonna be.
chancellor or whatever. I mean, what the title would be.
For, I mean, it would, I think Rick would already be you
It
or
would have to
Dexter.
be either Josh as the map project manager or either Dexter, I guess.
we
Just
don't
tell me
have
which-
any requirements of who it is, as long as you're happy with it.
Yeah,
And that page can be designed however you want it.
yeah, we'll
we
see.
have-
College management, would that be all right?
Yeah, and then I think college management, but then I think, well, if it's a college sponsor, because there might be some
That's
companies.
an incorrect page right there.
Okay.
That's got labor on it, and this, yours, I don't have that guy in there.
I gotta change it. That's why I was telling him I gotta change it.
Yeah, that is incorrect, but what we would
So
do
we have
is
one
move
for
that off
colleges, but
and.
we also need one for MAP.
Okay.
Just since we don't have any other way of capturing
So
So you have the community
companies that are
college
signing up
listed.
under this
So
initiative,
I'll put one for college management
yeah,
And
and
map
then
represented.
map representative.
So that would be
Yeah.
another line under
It'd be-
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it
We'll
would
put
be like
college on one
this,
side and map
it'd be
on the
like community college,
Yeah.
and then it'd be MAP, and then down here
I'll
would be
fix it.
Mike and then Woody, or it would be Woody,
State director. then.
company.
Woody and Garfield. If I have to sign, it's got Garfield, it has to have
Man,
two signatures.
Okay.
It goes to Garfield, and that
wanna-
takes longer.
wanna go to me and then to you, cause it take longer.
Yeah, well, I think they're probably gonna wanna see something under my name, since you probably are over in Mobile doing a bunch
Okay.
of stuff, and
Well, the first one then it'll be,
we'll have to send it to Garfield. Once he signed off on it,
okay,
I'll probably be more comfortable signing, let you sign those others.
okay, all right.
Did
Are you
wanna
ready,
show-
D?
Did you wanna show?
Hey man, I gotta do something real quick. This is just in my workload and I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
I didn't catch it. So I'm finna ask, this is actually a person at Chain Electric. I'm getting ready, this registered apprentice.
Okay.
Now, the sponsor already put all the information in.
Okay.
And he pushed send. Now over here, there's update contact information. Now what that is, in this section, if they change their address or name, that happens a lot. People get married, and then also, if they should change occupations or, anything like that. And then down here, well, that should never change, but anyway, if there's any related training information that they would want to change, they would click it there and then do the change.
That's
And
the 576 that you're talking about.
Click
Yeah.
on that updated training related, just click on that and see what happens.
it's not gonna let me,
It's-
because
it's
he
frozen.
already did it.
Okay.
All right, see it's grayed out now
Right.
because he already elected all the changes and I'm finna approve the changes.
Okay.
All right, so
Uh-huh.
you see this right
Cherries
here?
there? Yeah, there you go.
Now, remember I was trying to show you the difference in every pay raise, it breaks it down, Gloria?
Right.
Okay.
You see how it's doing it? He started him at 65%. Y'all please don't say this out in front of the company. But 65 all the way down to 100%.
Cameras.
Okay.
Yes, turn-
Mark, can you pause the camera?
Oh,
Well, he could probably edit that out, actually. You can,
This is only for Dexter, it's not gonna be for public
Yeah.
consumption
Okay,
anyway.
okay.
all
but-
right.
That's okay.
So
Yeah,
any,
you cannot use it, it's government employees, you cannot, federal government, you can't use this for that.
This is just for Dexter, cause he couldn't be here, that is the
I'll
only
give you-
reason
give
why.
you-
No,
Warning first.
I think it's okay.
Okay, that's fine.
okay. So
It's okay.
so he did all his information. And I'm gonna
Okay.
go right up here and approve Prentice. Now he's registered.
Cool.
Okay, go to 671,
Okay,
show them
now-
how it prints out. Further back to the top there.
And I gotta go down here and approve,
Mhm.
okay? Now, if I wanted to select the 671, which you'll like this, Woody, especially when it comes to like VA, when veterans are trying to get the benefits, the VA will every now and then ask for a 671. So all you have to do is go click 671, and you can view it, print
So
it out,
this-
do whatever.
So this will help like with the GI Bill and.
Mhm.
What is that page up there? There it is, okay.
See?
Can you
can
open
print
it
it
up
out.
where they can see it? So see what it looks like, feel that?
And the GI Bill can be used for on-the-job training as well as classroom instruction.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Pay
it's
for
a
their
combination.
salary.
Yeah, it just is same amount.
See it,
Cool.
Glory?
Yeah,
It's already filled out, and all you gotta do is get signed.
so just print it and then they sign it at the
Yep.
bottom.
Right.
And
then
then
at
the
bottom-
apprentice also signs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got Mike's signature at the bottom, and that's considered.
Just the electronics, which that's what the VA is going to be looking for right there. When it comes time, because see, once you send, every now and then the VA will ask. Just my experience from being on the other side. Every now and then they will ask for it, but most of the time, once you get them in, they won't ask. They'll ask one time. Yes.
Can you go back real quick to Davis Bacon? Is there I mean, that
Go
won't
ahead.
apply to us because it's
Uh-huh.
that's construction. But is there an equivalent of a Davis Bacon with like military contractors or anything like that you know of?
Oh, wait, now, it depends on if you have somebody, you could have one of your company members could have people working out on a military site, and it could be a Davis
Yeah.
Bacon. So, even though they're working in a plant and doing stuff, they might have an installation feature that they made something, they need to go install it. And if they have a contract with a military organization,
Right.
it may require them to have a Davis Bacon, which if they don't, they have to pay the full journeyman rate while they're on that job.
Right.
They pay the apprentice rate if they're in apprenticeship. If not in apprenticeship, they gotta pay the full Davis Bacon rate.
Well, I mean, it's potentially a benefit because you
See
can
which one
when you
suits.
writing out the contract, you can say we're going to have X amount
You
of
see which one
apprentices that are going to be on the job site. Are there up? Well, we can talk about this afterwards.
Yeah, it really is not gonna apply a whole lot to you, but you could,
Yeah.
y'all could end up signing some people that have construction components to their business
Mm.
and working on a federal site like the prisons and putting air conditioning in or special.
Is construction the only industry that Davis Bacon applies? That's
Pretty
what-
much, yeah.
Okay.
Well, anybody that works on a federal site,
Mhm.
federal, and they've let a federal
Good.
contract.
Thanks, guys.
Are you
Come
late?
up- Yeah, I gotta run.
Tapped out.
Yeah,
Y'all-
well, I didn't take a break, so. But thanks, guys. We'll get some more information. I think we're definitely gonna need to do this again for the colleges. Everything is good. I was thinking about the whole granting process.
Well,
and how we have to do this.
information?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming together. It's a puzzle. For me, it's still a puzzle. I'm trying to put all the pieces together. So this was a big step in the right direction. It certainly helped. But just know that I think we're gonna have to do this again. We'll probably
Sure.
have to call on y'all to do this with the colleges. No doubt they're capable, but I think we still. I mean, you tell me. If
We
We
you
gotta
think you
make
can
this
go
in a
do it
very
now,
streamlined process.
right? If you think you can go do it now, great. But
I think
I
y'all
could-
ready to do a live exercise.
I think it's hard to streamline this in what you would call a logical fashion because of the kind of questions that come up as you're going through.
Right.
It may lead you off track a little bit.
I'm fine with that. That's why I'm saying I think. I mean, our discussion today is fine. I mean, please no frustration on my part. Oftentimes our conversations are never linear. They're like this.
That's right.
So I'm fine with that. I'm just saying that we're gonna have to allocate a full day
Yeah.
at least.
To walking through this.
Right.
With the
Because
colleges.
if we got these questions, I know the college is gonna have a bunch.
And y'all are the SMEs. Y'all are subject matter
Right.
experts.
But I wanted to say thanks to you
Okay,
and
you're
Mike for
welcome.
coming spend half the day with us.
Thank you
for having
us, too. We
All right,
appreciate
thanks.
it. All right.
We'll see you later.
Glory, did that answer all your concerns with Rapids?
Yes, I understand Rapids,
All right.
so we'll have access to Rapids,
Yeah.
as a sponsor.
Yes.
I mean, I think we're gonna have to go back and talk about the College
Yeah.
Board as a sponsor,
Yeah.
cause
Yeah,
that
that's
wasn't
kind of a
really
difficult
in our initial
situation.
plan, so.
If I was you, I would just, if I don't want to talk on term here, but if I was you guys, I would just start with just your sales first. Start with one, get out there and get in the field and get signed up. Get one signed up. All right, and then as you work through it, take your notes because you're gonna call us. All right, and whatever company y'all decide to go take a swing at, just go take a swing at. I took a swing at a municipal company my first time out. You know,
Still
so
working on it.
still working on it. But
They ain't throwing them out.
they keep giving me invites.
They
But
like him. They just don't want to sign. It's
but
called a closing.
the I think y'all ready, Gloria. I really believe that these guys are ready.
I feel ready.
Now, when you come down on the 26th, 25th,
that we need to talk about that, but we
Okay.
can talk about that after. this is
okay.
over.
Well, if you're coming down for that,
Right.
I'm gonna send this to you anyway. But let me log. Can I
Yes,
log
please
out
do.
of this?
How long does it take, once everybody signs the agreement, how long does it take for you to get DOL approval?
Well, I sign it and send it to Garfield,
How long
and
does that
it'll
take?
a couple of weeks, and then when it comes back, I register it in Rapids 2.0. You get your password and ID, and you're gonna put your first apprenticeship member in right then.
So it takes about 3 weeks maybe?
Yeah.
But
round three.
after that,
Okay.
if Woody so chooses, the other ones won't take that long. Will it?
No, it depends on how Garfield wants to work it.
Okay.
We'll have to wait and see, but, we're not talking about a lot of programs. You have 5 community colleges gonna sign up basically, or thereabouts. We could do all those in probably the same time frame.
Mhm.
And if you sign up one and y'all decide you don't wanna do it, and, you know, all you do is just send me an email and we'll cancel it. Try to leave it open a year, but after that, you know.
I'm gonna try to
just dump
send
it
you
out.
these work processes tonight.
So we'll have to get, we have a company already who says they wanna meet with you.
Mhm.
So
Let me know
we'll
when.
set that meeting up, we'll go out there with you, and you can
And
walk,
this-
we can walk through the whole process with you, with the company then, and that'll
Okay,
allow us to
the
see it.
CF Industries, where are they at?
Oh, well, we're not,
Yeah.
that's not the company we're talking about, we're talking about Mississippi Team Talk.
Yeah, I know, but we met
Can I
with
log off,
them,
Gloria?
and,
Yeah, that's fine.
were they just not interested, or,
I
Or
think that
the-
they're interested, they're just,
Not
it's just, we're
really.
not gonna be doing that right now. This is a company that said, we have apprenticeships already, let's see if maybe this is a fit for us. So then we'll get you out there and you can work your magic and we can watch the
I
system.
don't know if I can do magic on
Well, you know, and we'll watch how it unfolds.
it.
They're not saying they're going to do
God,
it.
I meant to
Right,
send you
right.
something.
They're
I'll
just
send
saying
you.
that we're at that next stage.
Send me
We'll
everything,
find out.
man.
They're
I
exploring.
read.
That's what
I'm a
that is.
voracious reader, and that's how I prepare myself. That's how I
But that'll
get
help
better.
us.
So anything.
Mhm.
just
And
send it
this
to
is
me.
someone that said, yeah, let's start going down this path.
Well, if you've got them
It's
this
just
far along,
basically,
most likely they're gonna be
my
a
little
yes, but
talking
this
points
takes
when
a
I
while.
go out there.
Please do.
And it's
Same
not
thing
in
as
any
me.
given
A
order.
couple of
I
things
wanna-
just in
if
terms of
y'all
next
said
steps
y'all
that you
wanna
should
invite-
be aware of. And then, and I can put these in an email, cause I know it's the end of the day and I don't know
I've
about y'all,
got-
but my
I'm
head
not
is
tired.
spinning. Of course you're not tired, you know this stuff already.
No, but I'm working with you.
He's a
That's
machine.
So,
important.
so,
Whatever you need.
we're gonna try to do, like Kenneth mentioned, we're trying to get this RFA out hopefully Monday. I was hoping Friday, but that's Good Friday and a lot of people are gonna be gone,
Yeah.
so we might as well wait till Monday.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then we're gonna also, we're working with Julie to do a webinar on pre-apprenticeship models. We'll let you know if you can join, just to share with folks about what some of those look like
Did you
across
see
the
her
country.
film?
I haven't seen her film yet, yeah.
She's good.
Yeah, she told me about it, but I haven't looked at it yet.
She offered to let us use it nationwide.
Oh,
I
that's
sent
great.
it up to the national office and they liked it.
Yeah,
She's a character.
she, she is. She's great. Then May 24th and 25th, if you could put that on your calendar right now, is the day for what we're calling an implementation meeting. So once we select the colleges, which we hope to have by then, we want to have an implementation meeting at an apprenticeship academy. We thought we could do some kind of overview of this process, but it sounds, which I think we can do during that meeting, but then it's gonna have another training if it's gonna take a day and a half for them
Well,
to
I
really.
mean, look how long. All right, Gloria. I'm just gonna say this. It took. I did my ATR training, it took us 4 days, 8-9 hours a day. So for what you guys want, I mean, we pretty much gave y'all the main ingredients. I think
Okay.
y'all ready to get on out there. So at least a good day and a half for those folks that haven't heard our previous conversations.
Right, okay. We're also, hoping to do some signing, a governor's signing day sometime June, July. We're trying to get on his calendar to, again, raise the
For?
visibility. For companies that we have signed up,
Okay.
just to raise the visibility, like, the NFL signing day.
Okay.
Big press
Cool.
kind of thing.
Cool.
Somewhere around June or July, we're
What's
also,
that about?
it's just one of our communications visibility activities where we want the governor to sponsor a signing day for apprenticeship programs. Now, they may have already signed. My thinking is, let them sign. I don't care what they sign. They can sign, they can sign the sign-in sheet for the day, as long as, the point is just that they're there
Yeah.
and they're, cause I don't think we wanna wait for them to sign. If they wanna be on the line, let's let them sign right now.
Yeah.
But on that day,
Yeah,
we
you
can
can
come
do
up with
that.
something for them to sign. We're delighted to be a part of the, registered apprenticeship program or whatever, something like that.
The only thing that can mess that time frame up is if they call me away.
Mm.
If they're been known to do a lot. DC or, I have a lot of places like that.
Well, we'll
So-
try to get it on the calendar and locked down, so then maybe you can
See,
say.
the way I envision talking with community colleges is to do exactly what we're doing right now.
Mhm.
Because they're gonna have questions and it's not gonna be in any sort of order, it's gonna be random.
Mhm.
And eventually you'll cover enough information that'll stick. And back to his point, I came on, I was writing my first program 3 days later.
Wow.
I had all of WIOA experience, WIA, and that CTC and FPA. So I knew how the state government worked. I was pretty familiar with most of the people. And I had sales training before, so when I went out and talked to the businesses, I could relay the information pretty well to them. And it's just, you personally, both of you guys are already at that level,
Mhm.
where you can relay that information on pretty well. It's not that you're gonna make a mistake. You read those regulations, read those standards right there, the same thing. The information we're talking about is the same thing every time. So when you're looking at, talking to people, what you wanna find out is, what is it they need?
Mhm.
They may not even need a apprenticeship, they may need something else entirely, and if you can find it for them, give it to them.
Right.
So, I turned down a lot of companies that probably, they didn't need a apprenticeship, I probably could sign them, but it wouldn't have done them any good. They need something more, something different, and that's the key, you wanna help people, you don't wanna do anything to hurt anybody.
Right.
And that's what I promise everybody, I won't do anything to hurt you.
So you mentioned when we asked how many other states are set up like this, you said
All
very,
are.
no, I meant for the community college doing
Can
the
you
work.
sign
I
up?
don't
You
know
said,
of any.
you said very few.
There's gonna be Georgia, he would know.
Yeah, let's check with Kenny.
Kenny Atkins,
We can also check
How
with
are
Dr.
they, how are,
Firestone. Are you
I would
talking
like
about
to
tomorrow?
know.
they have the same system.
I would
You
like
talked to her
She had-
yesterday?
So she had to move it to Monday.
Okay.
I would like to know
Maybe we
what,
can ask her too.
how are most
I might
states
shoot her
set
an
up
email
to do
before
this?
Yeah. She had some come on.
The South
Right
is
forward,
unique
right
because
forward.
they've never had much.
Thank you.
So it's a new air form, but in the
Yo.
north, east and west.
This is
it's-
great. Thank you so
they're-
much, Michael.
They
I
have
think,
more groups that.
Mark-
Kept forgetting about that
Different environments.
camera, man.
I know.
Yeah.
We're all down if you
Some
wanna
of them are
cut,
union,
cut,
some
we're
of
just
them are
kinda
colleges,
chatting right
or
now.
consortiums,
Mm.
or the nonprofits. There's
And Dexter owes
just a
you
number
big
of
time.
ways they do it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
Tell
you.
Dexter I charge extra for my cinematics stuff. Alright?
Yeah, I've tried to tell
Did that
him.
answer your, did that answer
He
your
has an English problem sometimes.
I was just curious, cause we have to find a sustainable
I'm
path.
putting the
I'll
subtitles
watch
for
it
him.
again several times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how we're tying in the community